baseball. Got a little bit of Celtics, Bruins as well. We'll certainly hit on that 49ers game this weekend for the Patriots. Some comments. The injury report was just released, so we'll have that for you coming up in just a little bit. And there's some news going on in college football that actually could be a local story. We'll have that for you coming up in just a little bit as well. But the phone number here is 617-779-0985. Skaz is on vacation. Good for Skaz. He is out enjoying himself. We have Matt Stenberg tonight, everyone, and our intern Joe also here as well. You can follow us on YouTube tonight. Just go right to youtube.com/985 The Sports Hub. I like to put it on the television. Just grab the little speaker and say 985 The Sports Hub on YouTube. So we worked last night. We were interrupted by the Bruins game. They had a little preseason game, which we'll comment on in just a little bit. But I was very interested in what I heard for Celtics Media Day. I wanted to go over there. Obviously, I believe Hardy and Wallach were there representing the station. And I heard a really good interview today from Jaylen Brown. But when it comes to the Boston Celtics, you may have heard it there from Drew Holiday. These guys, I think, know what people are saying about them. They got extra motivation this year. I already said repeat. I think this thing's going to happen. So I enjoyed it for maybe an hour at postgame after they've won the championship. And then the rest of the way for me was they're going to repeat. They brought everybody back. I'm already starting it. And you can bet it right now at plus 290. Not the best odds out there, but think about that. Right? That's the best odds.
Hooters is your pro and college
That's
football
probably the best
this season. Choose.
There we go. I thought it was my computer that popped up when that happened. But, I've already claimed the repeat. Team won it all. Clearly the best team in the NBA last year. I don't care about their path, or who they beat, or who was out when they played those teams. They return almost their entire roster with the same upgrades, with some upgrades, and they have their star players in their prime. And at Media Day, I didn't watch a ball get dribbled or a shot taken. What I saw was a determined basketball team led by Jaylen Brown, who's clearly setting the tone as the leader of the team. Jason Tatum talking about shooting better this year, working on some things, and thinks he can only get better. The Drew Holiday comment, though, hey, what are the expectations of the season? Well, his were, some people are going to say we suck, and that's fine. He thinks the same exact thing's going to happen. He's telling you what I'm telling you. But just looking at it right there, Brown, Tatum, Holiday, even White had some comments just regarding, no issues between the team. They're fully focused. You even got news on Kristaps Porzingis that he'll be back sooner than we all thought. He wants to come back in December, thinks his rehab's going pretty well, and could be back sooner. And it's almost as if they want the challenge of Philadelphia or New York or Indiana or any other team that said that they improved this year. The Celtics are absolutely built to repeat, and people are still doubting them. And another thing just to throw out there, because Chris Mannix had a pretty good article on this today, they know this may be the last run with this group. They're built to repeat. The rules that are set will rip apart any dynasty, including a $500 million roster. They know what the goal is this year. They have all the motivation. They already have their personal things, whether it's contracts or extensions, etc. All-star games, MVP, you name it. But they still feel disrespected. They feel disrespected from the media and from other people across the league, maybe even what happened this summer with the Olympic team. But winning back-to-back is a big deal for this group. It means so much more. Winning one it's an achievement in the NBA. Let's be honest. You win one, you're just known as a guy who won one. The last big three here with the Celtics, they won one, and that's the biggest thing people hold against them. Winning two, going back-to-back, something that hasn't been done in 6 years. Winning two in this town also means a lot. But I think it might mean more for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, not to mention what's the future when it comes to who buys the team. Everyone has motivation this year. For a team that maybe needed it in the past, they maybe did. But this year, the offseason completely set it up for them. Absolutely did. So, the team's motivated. They didn't need it. Nobody needed to give it to them. They got it all right. They got guys defending. Al Horford defending the two best players on the team. You heard maturity. Did you see Jaylen Brown? Dude was ripped. Even Tatum, for that matter, looked matured and relaxed and kind of like he's won the championship now, so he can only get better from here. Winning back-to-back's a big deal, and I think it's a huge focus for this group this year. They already got their contracts. They're going to get their money. But I think they want to win another one, add another achievement. Again, one of the only teams to go back-to-back. Because if they go back-to-back, you won't be hearing from Shaquille O'Neal and Kendrick Perkins anymore or other guys around the league. And you know what? I don't know if there would be a three-peat involved. There is a betting odd for that, by the way, out there if you'd like. I think it's plus 1,200 at DraftKings. I'd be upset if anything but a championship this year and back-to-back for the Boston Celtics. We'll lead it off there at 617-779-0985. Do want to get into some of the motivations for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They had some comments yesterday as well. And your thoughts on the Celtics. We got Bruins preseason as well. We'll react to that. And, of course, Patriots this weekend. They will take on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm Joe Murray. We'll take your calls coming up here on the other side here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I'm ready to go. I'm excited about being back. You know, the past is the past, but I'm ready to get after it. You know, lead our guys, get the guys, build some team chemistry, not skip any steps, and just set the tone for another year again. I'm extremely motivated for obvious reasons.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. We're with you guys tonight until 11 o'clock here on The Sports Hub. The phone number is 617-779-0985. Again, we're on YouTube tonight. I already see the guys in there. I got Ryan, J. Buck, P-Funk. We got a crew in there already, Benny as well. So you can just join. Just go right to 985thesportshub.com. Sorry, YouTube, and then 98.5 The Sports Hub. So that was Jaylen Brown, who's in the zone, man. He's their leader. By the way, let's just get that out of the way. When last season ended, he was their leader. For all the talk about, well, Jason Tatum should be their leader, and he should be the guy to do this, he never was that guy. I still think Tatum's the best player on his team. He might be I think he's one of the top 5 players in the league, okay? The way he makes everybody else better, him actually sacrificing a little bit more made the team better last year. That's a fact. But if you want to call him soft, go ahead. If you want to think his shot stinks, fine. Whatever. He still makes guys around him better. He can still drive to the basket better than anyone. And when it comes to an isolation situation, he's still one of the best players in the league. He plays out of position. If you want to call him soft, he gets 8 rebounds a night as the 4 in the NBA. Like, he's playing out of position and he still puts up big numbers. All right, he's close to a triple-double almost. Now, again, it doesn't make it that he's hard-nosed and he's tough. I don't care. He's good. He shows up every single night. He'll have 50-point nights. It will happen. I don't need Jason Tatum to be the leader of the Celtics. Why? Because Jaylen Brown is. Jaylen Brown's the guy. And he's going to lead the charge and help lead this team in charge on their way to back-to-back championship. I already said, I've already started the repeat. Like, this isn't a homer take, not a green teamer. They're the best team in the league. I don't think anyone's going to beat them. Their philosophy works. In a 7-game series, try to outscore the Celtics. You can't. So you could have all your healthy players. You could have the hardest path. They're still the best team. I stand by that. Other teams may have improved. They're not as good as the Celtics. They're just not. And everybody hates them. Oh, Perk and Shaq and all these guys. The Celtics don't need that. They already have their own motivations. You would think after an offseason of winning a championship, a team would need it. You would. Nope. They had a summer where a lot of things happened. They still have doubters. They love it. They're still the best team. So I want those haters out there. I want the people to say, Tatum soft. I want all those things. Because they need the motivation. That's just what it is. And what I mean by that motivation, they have chips on their shoulder. And this is some of the quotes I wanted to give you here. Jaylen Brown, clearly the leader. He's ready to go. He's excited about being back. The past is the past. That has been a common theme over the last at least 3 weeks. They're over this thing. Winning last year, they're over it. They're over it. And that they've been consistent at least on saying that. But he said he doesn't want to skip steps. They want to build more team chemistry. They want to set the tone for another year where they're motivated for obvious reasons. And they talked about relief of shedding the weight of expectations. Brown goes on to say he had to experience a lot of adversity throughout his life, through the organization, through his journey, through a lot of people. There were a lot of doubters. There were a lot of ins and outs to get where he is today. He's grateful for it. He wouldn't exchange it for anything. Even in those moments of doubt, those moments were where he heard boos, or people wanted him gone, or didn't think he deserved the contract that he got. It's made him who he is today, and what he is the leader of the world champion Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum also asked about his Olympic snub. That was the first question, by the way, for Jaylen Brown. And he goes, oh, you really want to go there right away? But he talked about Joe Mazzulla. And that's another thing I wanted to mention. For the guys that people want to call Tatum soft and all this stuff, they don't need him to be the tough guy that people want him to be, because they got it from Brown, and then they get this whole identity from their coach. Joe Mazzulla, this guy's identity, he's crazy. He is crazy, and I love it. They know it, too. They know it. Tatum goes on to say he joked about Mazzulla. He was probably the happiest person in the world about Tatum's setbacks during the summer. By the way, he went and met him to check on him to see how he was doing. But he went on to say Joe was probably the happiest person in the world. He didn't win Finals MVP and didn't play in 2 games of the Olympics. He thought it was odd, but you know, Joe, it makes sense. This is who Mazzulla is. They don't need these guys to be the leaders or the tough guys. And Mazzulla was always criticized as, you know, second row Joe, third row Joe, whatever it is. Say what you want about him. They take on their head coach's identity. That happened this year. All those things are true. And Stenberg, I don't know if you have the audio here from Jason Tatum, but he talked about the Olympics and what it felt like in real time. Let's hear that audio.
In real time, it was tough, but it's and Joe. I talked to Joe a lot. Joe was probably the happiest person in the world that I didn't win Finals MVP and that I didn't play in 2 of the games in the Olympics. So that was odd, but if you know Joe, it makes sense. Did I need any extra motivation coming into the season? No, I don't. I wouldn't. I'm not going to give anybody in particular credit that, you know, they're motivating me to come into the season. It was a unique circumstance, something I wasn't having experienced before in my playing career. But I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason. I was coming off a championship, the highest of the highs, and cover a 2K, a new contract, and, you know, then that happened. And whatever the reason is, I haven't figured out yet, but I am a believer that everything does happen for a reason. But it was a good experience. We won the gold medal. I won my second one. I was around some of the best players I ever played a game on a daily basis and built some friendships and was able to bring my family out there and enjoy the Olympics as a whole. So that was a plus from it for sure.
Sounds pretty good. Sounds like a guy that's, you know, let's face it, the pressure's off him now. What can Jason Tatum be without the pressure he's had before? I'm starting to see what Jaylen Brown is, that's for sure. And I just want to remind people, I've been very consistent on this, so I'm happy that it was about time Jaylen Brown played up to the level everyone thought he could. Like, Jason Tatum took a slight step back. His shot wasn't working, and we'll get into that. He's working on some things. He wasn't at his best, and they won the championship. It was Brown who elevated. Finally. But now he's elevating to becoming the leader of the team. They're both the best players on the team. It's their team. They're the highest 2 paid players in the league. It's their team. It's also all about this year. And it's something that, you know, Tatum talked about. It was never just about trying to win one. Now you want to be mentioned in the same room as other Celtic great teams and great players. All the guys they looked up to who growing up, who won 1 championship. They're just in the conversation now. How great are you trying to be? What room do they want to be considered in? They want to maximize that time. They also understand there's a window there. Making the most of this opportunity, it begins with both Tatum and Brown. There's no doubt about that. They have something to prove. I'm on the back-to-back bandwagon. This team goes as they do. No doubt. They're ready to set the tone. Brown said it himself. But they already know winning one isn't enough, especially in this town, especially playing for the Boston Celtics. So your thoughts on that at 617-779-0985. Another thing, Joe Mazzulla was talking about Jason Tatum. He said Tatum was 100% right when Joe was the happiest person in the world. And Mazzulla said that it was a gift. That's just the way that I love him. It's the relationship that we have. I appreciate he accepts my perspective. I thought that was kind of funny. But at the end, he's still 26. He's accomplished a lot in the league. He wanted them to kind of step back and take advantage of it. He wanted them to do that. You know who else supported him as well? Al Horford. This guy coming out and challenging the Olympic Committee as well. It was great. But Mazzulla didn't want these things to take away from, what affected him winning a championship this year. And that was kind of the big story of it. As his coach and as somebody that really cares about Tatum, he thought it was great because it gives him something to work towards for the rest of his career. I don't know if Team USA has ruined the opportunity for Brown and Tatum to play in 4 years. But you know what? You win another championship and you become the team that goes back-to-back for the first time in 6 years with potentially a shot at a three-peat? With all the adversity that's going on with new ownership? The window is now. There's the guy that I love, one of my favorites. You guys know I love wrestling. John Cena. My time is up. My time is now. It is the Celtics' time. It's their time. This is their window. They've got added motivation. They didn't need it. All right, do I sound green teamer, Stenberg? I know you're a Philly guy. I know how your 76ers are doing. I'm just talking facts, bro. This is the best team in the league, my man. And they now have added motivation?
It is the best team in the league. I mean, I think
From a non-green teamer here.
From a non-green teamer. I think it's going to be really hard to beat the Celtics this year. I mean, they didn't lose anybody. Like, who's going to stop them?
I don't think anybody. Bring them on. Bring them on. Healthy. I don't care about the path. The players don't care. The window is now. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. The time is now for the Celtics. The time is now. All right, we'll hit the headlines here. Get you caught up on everything happening. I don't know if I wrote any, but there is a Red Sox game that's going on as well. We'll give you the score on that. I'm Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Cutting into the middle. Johnson leaves it off on the right side. Harrison angles it off the boards. Now Lysell with the left wing circle with a shot, scores! Fabian Lysell puts it just inside the near post, and Washington gives up a power play goal. It's 2-0 Boston.
All right, back here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. We had a little hockey last night here on the Sports Hub. That was Ryan Johnston on the call with Bob Beers. Yep, it was preseason hockey, but I had some things I was looking forward to. I had my pencil out. Sharpened my pencil last night. I was curious about a few guys. Number one, Fabian Lysell. That's number one. Who lit the lamp, and we'll get into him in a bit. But I wanted to see Poitras on the right wing, and, you know, Merkulov, this kid Tufty. Now I'm starting to get into this guy. I'm getting a little Tufty in my pants, if you know what I mean, for Riley. Dude's playing well. Big boy. I need a big boy. I need a big boy. I need a big boy. He's a big boy. I like him. I think they're going to be slow as hell this year. They got some big boys. Like Zadorov, right? But it is a question mark, and I keep mentioning it, but how do you replace Jake DeBrusk? Say whatever you want about that guy. He had a lot of intangibles and was fast. So last night they started with Poitras. He looked fine. He was very good on the faceoffs, by the way, doing it, playing both. So he at least got the first look, but dating back to Sunday, the Bruins had their first preseason game. You would think that some of the guys would have extra motivation or try to steal the job, right? There's probably 2 spots available. Probably. We'll see what happens. But there's no doubt about it. Right wing, second line, it's there for the taking. Who's going to take it? There's some candidates. Fabian Lysell's the number one candidate. I already mentioned Poitras, but they kind of want to keep him as the center. Merkulov also a center as well, but can play there. Do they want to move some guys up like Beecher? What are they going to do? Somebody needs to take the job. It's not going to be given to anybody. The Bruins don't do that. They'll play veterans mix and match until they figure it out. They'll look for the right combination. They will. But on Sunday, I looked at Fabian Lysell's stat line. No shots on net. So what's Montgomery do? They go to practice, they talk to the media, and he calls out Lysell. Montgomery sent Lysell and Merkulov, for that matter, a clear message. They needed to be better in Tuesday's second preseason game. Quote from Montgomery, I think his habits and details are making plays in practice, and they've been really good, but it has to translate to the game. This in regarding to both of the guys. While Lysell was really good on Tuesday night, Merkulov, this kid's doing a lot. I'm really impressed. If you remember, he's been the leading scorer in Providence the last couple of years. Neither of the guys recorded a shot on Sunday, but they were great on Tuesday. Lysell, the number one star, Core's former first-round pick. They want him to be that second-line guy. The guy had a snipe last night. You just heard the audio. From the left circle, power plays expiring. You get the guy in front. Not to mention, I bring up this speed factor, right? They need a little bit more speed on their team. He drew 2 penalties on the night. And one was when he was going into the offensive zone. So they need that speed. And they had turnovers galore in the first preseason game. I thought he had some pretty good zone entries last night. He made better decisions with the puck. He won battles in the corner, was helping on the back check. But I think the message was received. And Fabian Lysell said it himself. The message was received. Montgomery's comments, they resonated. And said he didn't talk to Montgomery about it. That's why Montgomery does this through the media. He was better. And I'll just say something else about Merkulov again. The last 2 years, he's trying to prove he's ready for the NHL. He's picked up his play. He's been consistent. Another assist. Finally saw something from these young guys. They're now starting to show you that this is why they didn't spend money at that spot in free agency and why they let Jake DeBrusk go. I don't know if it's going to work. But finally, you send a message and the kids play well. But I like this Tufty kid. He's big boy. The other thing is, the Jeremy Swayman situation will hover over this team from now until December 1st, or whenever they come to an agreement. I thought Korpisalo was good in net. He faced 7 shots. Most of them were all contested. These weren't bunnies, okay? I'm not excited for this, though. I'm not excited for Korpisalo to have a good night, play half a game, leave. DiPietro comes in, gives up a goal, whatever. But for half the game, could the Bruins get by with Korpisalo? Absolutely. Nobody wants to see that. I don't want to see it. But it's going to put the team in a very interesting situation. And normally I don't do preseason talk of the Bruins, but they got holes to fill. And last night, 2 of their stars, and I think Merkulev's been a little bit more consistent. But you want the job, right? You got to take shots on that. Here's something I learned in the playoffs last year, Stenberg. You'll appreciate this. If you want to score goals, you need to take more shots. That's pretty simple enough, right?
Brain buster there, Joe.
Simple enough. Coach Joe over here. They did not get enough shots on net in the playoffs. It drove everybody insane. If you take more shots, you'll score more goals, and that's exactly what they both did last night. Your thoughts? I always make it sound so easy, let me tell you. Your thoughts on the Bruins and what happened in the preseason game last night. And, of course, your thoughts on the Celtics. I'm already on the repeat. Got the green going back to back. Back to back. I got the green going back to back. Your thoughts at 617-779-0985. And again, we're on YouTube. You can join the chat. I already got people getting in on me about my shave today. I wore a hat yesterday, Stenberg, who, by the way, for those who don't know, Matt Stenberg is the collector of hats. I think that someone should do a feature on Matt Stenberg. They should have him show them every single hat that he has from every weird organization in minor league sports. And we'll get into a hat later on in the show tonight. But, just thinking about the Bruins and the Celtics and all of that, I just feel like at this point, when it comes to these two teams, I expect the Celtics to win the championship. I also have really high expectations for the Bruins. Like, none of this make it to the playoffs, win a round. No. You sign guys like Elias Lindholm and Zadorov and potentially Jeremy Swayman. You have higher expectations. I do. So we'll open it up to you at 617-779-0985. Let's talk to our buddy Justin and Lynn. What's up, Justin?
Hey, Joe, I'm very nervous about the Patriots this week against San Francisco. I didn't think they played well last week against the Jets, and this week scares me against San Francisco.
Oh, are you worried of this weekend?
Yes, I am. With the way their offensive line played last week, Joe, and their defense at times was very loose, and that scares me.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you this, Justin, and thanks for the call, buddy. Got to check out Justin on TV and Lynn. I got a take on this weekend's game. I'm looking at that betting line, 10.5, and I'm wondering if it's going to go to 11 at some point. Underdogs in the NFL this year doing very well. They're barking. They are barking. And people just think the 49ers are going to crush the Patriots. I don't think people have been watching the 49ers. Don't think people have been watching. I do want to give a thought real quick because, again, we didn't have a show last night. And, well, there's been talks about Jeremy Swayman and the contract with the Bruins. And, well, we have a rebuttal. We have a response. We'll let you hear that response coming up next. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
This entire negotiation was fumbled from the beginning. That is my opinion on it. It was fumbled from the beginning when you decided to trade Allmark before you had to deal with Swayman. You decided to not take Swayman to arbitration. That could have locked him up for 1 or 2 years. You could have punted this down the road, but none of that happened, and all of the leverage was put into Jeremy Swayman's camp. And this guy, I do not think personally he's going to give in. I don't know where this goes from here, but his agent also represented William Nylander, and when did he hold out till Biz?
December.
Right around December. So now I think Don Sweeney's taking out his frustration on really Funk's entire negotiation on me a little bit, and indirectly on you, because he didn't even want to say my name.
No, we're buddies.
That's fine. Yeah, you guys are buddies. I just don't understand not talking that long to a camp, and I stand by what I was told, right? Like, he's going to call me a liar. I think he's fudging a little bit the truth. Now, who knows, right? I guess maybe the truth's somewhere in the middle, but I knew the offer, and it was a low ball, slap in the face offer. So
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Oh, do we have a source war? Source war. Skaz, I just called you Skaz. Stenberg, can you tell? I'm so used to leaning on Skaz. I know. Dennis, I know. Dennis is here working on things. So he's in the bill. You know, no one's ever really here after 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? But if Dennis is here, that means he's working on something. Stenberg's here. Intern Joe's back there handling our YouTube, doing a good job. That was Ryan Whitney. Oh, Don Sweeney. Woo-hoo, Don Sweeney. He was kind of salty, I got to tell you. Oh, I don't call a guy 3 weeks. That is he used the word BS. I'm not going to say it. You know, like my job. He called BS. He called anything Ryan Whitney has said BS. Like, I don't know. If somebody was like, oh, Joe Murray, that's BS, I'd be pissed. Especially if I was right. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not Joe's source guy, okay? I'm not one of these guys. If I got something, I'll probably use it as a take and see where it goes. So I'm not Source Joe. I have no sources when it comes to the Jeremy Swayman situation. I don't. I really don't. But do I know people that talk to Jeremy Swayman? Yes. Yes, I do. That doesn't mean I have a source, okay? What I'm gathering is I think Swayman's talking to some people. I think Swayman's talked to Ryan Whitney. I'm assuming that. Because there are people out there that will go with a report that will tell you the deal's done. But the people I know that talk to Jeremy Swayman have told me that the deal is not close. Everything I'm hearing, again, no sources, just people I know that actually speak to Jeremy Swayman. Text, for that matter. Not Source Joe over here. He wants to set a market with a deal. The Bruins aren't there. They have time to figure this out. It's up to Swayman how long he wants to wait this thing out. I think they're committed. I shouldn't say committed. I think they're fine playing Korpisalo and Bussy. Doesn't mean it's what's best for the team. But do you really want Jeremy Swayman to miss 25 games? Isn't Thanksgiving usually the time if you know a player is if a team's a playoff team or not? If it's 8-8 and they're offering 7-7, I think they're far apart. I hope this thing gets closer. I think there is some leverage from Swayman here a little bit, but at the same time, the Bruins know that if he doesn't play or sign something by December 1st, he doesn't get paid or play. Not really what you want after an offseason where you get two of the best free agents available. Not particularly what you want after that guy that wants the contract was the best player in the playoffs, arguably. playoffs, not just the Bruins playoffs. Him. You could make the argument Jeremy Swayman was one of the best players in the playoffs last year. And I'm sure there's a crowd that goes, I don't want to pay a goalie $8 million. Fine, that's fine. It's not your money. Swayman wants to set the market. They made it a business, and now he's doing it. Should he take a deal that's 6 years at $7 million? Is that in his best interest? Probably not. I can't wait to see how this thing unfolds. But Ryan Whitney firing back at Don Sweeney. Sweeney, clap back. The Spitting on Yourself podcast. One day someone called the Joe Show the joke show, and I just never let it down. You know? It didn't sit well with me. So I'm Team Ryan Whitney on this one. I'm on your team, Ryan. I got your back, bro. Who wants someone to call you a liar? Especially in this business? Out. Hey, we got a giveaway, everybody. You want to win something? Well, be caller number 10 right now to our contest line at 617-931-0985. You'll score a pair of tickets to the sold-out Sunday, October 6th show of the Gold Over America Tour, featuring Simone Biles and America's Best Gymnasts. They're coming to Boston for back-to-back nights, October 6th and 7th at TD Garden. Tickets for the October 7th show are still available at Ticketmaster.com. Get a chance to see an Olympic hero right there. So be caller number 10. I do want to get back into the Celtics. There is some Patriot stuff out there that I wanted to hit on as well. I'm jacked up for the game this weekend. Not a lot of hype for that one, though. Wonder what's going on there. We're also going to talk to Brian Barrett of The Ringer tonight, and we'll talk with Bobby Manning, our guy over at CLNS. But what's going on with the Patriots? What's going on with Drake May? What's going on with Jacoby Brissett? We'll talk about that coming up here at the top of the hour. I'm Joe Murray, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
WBC-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass.
Yes.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Patriots, they're gearing up for their game on Sunday with the 49ers. No Alex Austin today, no Anthony Jennings, Michael Jordan over Darian Lowe. There were some players limited. One, I missed this one, but Christian Gonzalez was limited today. He was added to the report. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. He just came off shoulder surgery. Juwan Bentley officially placed on injured reserve today. Kyle Duggar, though, named a team captain. And the Red Sox, they're in action tonight. No score right now, bottom of the fourth inning against the Blue Jays. Dick Fitz on the mound, still has not given up a run yet in his Red Sox career. Headlines, they are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Joe Murray. Your next update is in 30 minutes.
Let's talk turkey, shall we?
Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, in the sports industry, that's what you say.
Got your talking head right here, buddy.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Where do you think you need to be as an offense? Have you found your identity yet, or is it still kind of a work in progress as you go game to game?
Yeah, it's exactly. It's a work in progress as you go game to game. You know, it's like the whole thing. It's like you're closer than you think, but you also are farther than you believe too. You know what I mean? So it's about that balance of being in between those two. You know, like I said, I guess the 3 days or whatever we had off it was time to, I guess, kind of get closer in a mindset of like, hey, what are we trying to become and what can we do well, and at least push that part that we do well up a little bit more so that we get a little bit closer so that other things start to fall in line and become better.
All right, hour 2 of the Joe Show here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. I really can't call it the Joe Murray Show. It just doesn't fly. Plus, I got a crew here. Matt Stenberg filling in tonight. We got intern Joe. Looks like someone may have won those Simone Biles tickets, so that's cool. Get to see an Olympian. You know what? I actually think that'd be kind of fun to go to. Whatever. Call number 10. Somebody already won. Thank you. That was Jacoby Brissett at the podium today with a sore wrist. He's got a sore wrist, everybody. I mean, he only got sacked 5 times and hit 12 times last Thursday, so I'm sure he's been in the tub. I'd be in the tub. But we do have an update, or at least some sort of update, when it comes to Drake May's progress and maybe the direction of the team. So, the Patriots played 3 games in 11 days to start the year. I'm telling you, they're validated. Some people get triggered by that word. I feel that they've been validated making the right choice playing Jacoby Brissett. It hasn't been pretty. As far as big play production, it hasn't been there, but has it been bad? No, it was bad on Thursday. Brissett's doing what he can based off the struggles of the offensive line. That's just a fact. But there have been times where maybe he's missed a little bit or looked out of sorts. He certainly did on Thursday night. That miss down the sideline to Austin Hooper, that was huge. He missed that one. I think he has missed on a couple of throws. The other thing I noticed against the Jets was the checks at the line. I don't know if he's just defeated at this point. But that's when you know someone's broken. Mac Jones did it. And I hate to bring Mac Jones up again, but the Patriots are on a trend to something that happened last year. Last year, Mac Jones played well in game 1 against the Eagles. They lost 25-20. Everyone's like, all right, they're back. Then they played the Dolphins tough. But in both of those games, Mac Jones was getting crushed. Then Mac Jones broke. What's the difference this year? Jacoby Brissett statistically worse. The offensive line is worse. They have 39 points as a team. Not the worst, by the way. Next week, it's the Miami Dolphins. Can you believe that? 33 points this year for the Dolphins with the Mike McDaniel offense. I still can't believe that one. Anyways, Brissett was sacked 5 times. And his right wrist seems to have been taking a pounding. He reflected on this 3-day break that he had. He talked about some of the adversity that he faced early in the career and how it's kind of helped him now. And on all dropbacks last week, Jacoby Brissett, he's seeing the 3rd fastest time when it comes to pressure in the league. So just think about this, all right? You get yourself a timer. We all get timers, right? Let's pull up a timer on my phone. I'll do it right now, okay? The time for Jacoby Brissett to throw a football is 2.39 seconds. Imagine that. So the 3rd fastest. On plays under center with play action, it's a league worst 1.90. So if he goes under center, which people love, right? Oh, we got to go under center in the NFL. Blah. His pressure rate is 1.90. 1.90. The worst. The ball is getting snapped, and in under 2 seconds, he's seeing pressure. It's horrible. What's he supposed to do? You think Drake May is going to do better than that? Or some other veteran? I had to look this up because Football Insights had this. Explosive play rates on offense. The Patriots have a 6% explosive play rate. These are 10 yards, 20-yard pass plays. Believe it or not, it is bottom 4 in the league. It's tied with Deshaun Watson. Woof. Believe it or not, you know who's behind it? The Kansas City Chiefs. Who would have thought that? The Bears are the worst. So again, you want to play Drake May, but the number one quarterback has the worst explosive play rate in the NFL through 3 weeks. I think this could be the week for Brissett. He either plays like he did the first 2 weeks, or we're closer to Drake May time. If you were like, hey, Joe, when do you think Drake May will play? Let me pull up the Patriots schedule real quick. They get the 49ers this week. They have the Dolphins on October 6th. And then on October 13th, they have the Texans. Then they go to London against the Jaguars. Then it's the Jets. I think if Brissett plays bad this week, there's an absolute chance that May plays against the Dolphins. But if I was going to bet on it, I think it's the Jets game on the 27th. He got a little bit of a look at the Jets. I know it was in mop-up time, but they were sending the blitzes. I think that might be the time. He's already seen them. He probably already has a scouting report. It'll be the team that they'll see for the second time this year. I'm banking on Brissett keeping the Patriots in a game this week. It's not because of the Patriots. It's because the 49ers aren't right. Could it be against the Dolphins? Like, who's going to be the quarterback? Tim Boyle or Huntley? Might not be a bad opportunity, but it's a Vic Fangio defense. I don't think you want them playing against the Texans in their pass rush, one of the best pass rushes in the league. And do you really want to send them on the road against the Jaguars to London? And I don't know, who knows? Mac Jones could be the quarterback for the Jaguars. Imagine a Drake May, Mac Jones, London matchup. Mind blown. I'm going Jets October 27th. That's the date I think we see Drake May. Can Brissett hang on? Can he hang on for 3-4 more weeks? I don't know. I don't know if he can. But Gerard Mayo today did give at least somewhat of an update on the conversation around when potentially you could see Drake May. And he went on talking about how poorly the offensive line is playing. But, is there a development plan? And there is one. They're not bringing in a veteran backup quarterback. They're not doing it. Mayo doesn't know the plan at this current time, but they're not bringing in a backup. He did say he's looked good in practice, but he said it's just practice. They wanted to give him some time. I think the next time you see him is that Jets game. I just don't know if they're not going to sign a veteran and Brissett's already dealing with risks and other things. Can he make it another 4 weeks? Oh, imagine that. The London game. Drake May versus Mac Jones. I can't even believe I put that into existence. We'll have more with Brian Barrett. He is of The Ringer. We'll get his thoughts on the Patriots. I know he's got some thoughts on the Red Sox as well. And he might have been at Media Day yesterday for the Celtics. So we'll do a little bit of everything with Brian Barrett. We got in or out at the end of the hour. Matt Stenberg is going to lead that bad boy tonight. So I'm excited for some of those. We got the musings for you at the end of the 9 o'clock hour as well. Bobby Manning joins us from CLNS. We got a full show tonight. And you can join us on YouTube as well. I see everybody in there. Carrie Ann in Seattle's in there. We got TT. Chuck Olson, what's up, bro? Brokerage Babe, you name them, I'm buying. They're there. Riz, of course, hanging out with Ryan. I'm Joe Murray. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
Inside the Sports Hub, I'm Joe Murray. We got Brian Barrett coming on from the Ringer in just a minute here. I've changed my chair because people told me I was too low, so now I'm higher up now. So I'm in the big chair now. The other thing is I didn't realize this, that did I just put the idea of Drake May versus Mac Jones into people's brain? Like, I don't know if our brains can handle that in a potential London game. Germany was the scene of the crime, but it's an international game, so it's the same thing. But just Mac Jones in an international game is really sad for the NFL. Like, forget about the Patriots. That's bad. It's bad. So if I put that into existence, I apologize, but I am not sorry. Let's go to the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline right now. We'll welcome in Brian Barrett. He is of the Ringer. Hey, Brian, have you even thought about that? Did I just put that into your brain and give you terrible nightmares about what it could be in London?
Yeah, that would be something, man. Seeing Mac Jones back on the field. But the way things are going in Jacksonville, who knows what's going to go on there? I mean, I was thinking about it the other day, too. Like, could that be a potential landing spot for Bill Belichick? And I had Mark Daniels on my pod the other day. What if Bill Belichick still had Mac Jones on the roster? I mean, there's a lot of sort of tentacles that could happen with this situation. But, I mean, it does feel weird there in Jacksonville with Peterson and, of course, with Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence, he had the one decent year when they made the playoffs, 2 seasons ago. And his rookie year was not good. And you kind of said, well, they had the Urban Meyer situation, fine. Last year, they took a massive step back. And this year, they're a complete dumpster fire. I mean, that interception he threw to Damar Hamlin the other night was just borderline atrocious. And I look at it now, if it is Mac Jones, I mean, that would be better for our entertainment value just because you could see what the old guy's doing.
Yeah, so what's very interesting, you just mentioned that our intern Joe, who's here today, they sent him some odds about first, coach fired, and now there's new Bill Belichick odds. And first on the list, we're about to post it to 985thesportshub.com, but Bill Belichick, still the Cowboys, but the second team is the Jacksonville Jaguars. So those rumors are starting to get a little bit hot there, but maybe it's because of what we saw on Monday night. I just real quick, because I want to get into some Patriots and some other stuff, but do you think that Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback? In your opinion, I know they gave him the money, but do you think he's the guy there in Jacksonville?
He hasn't really proven it to this point. Like, I totally understood why he was the number one pick in the draft and all that, but he's never been consistent since he got to the NFL. And the other thing that jumps out to you when you watch him play and you compare it to somebody like Josh Allen, like, we think about Trevor Lawrence, hey, he's the best prospect since Andrew Luck. And this past season, it was Caleb Williams is the best prospect since Trevor Lawrence. And when I look at, like, Josh Allen throw the ball, and I look at Mahomes throw the ball, and you watch Trevor Lawrence throw the ball, he doesn't have the same zip, and he doesn't have the same ability to throw the ball on the run. So maybe it was just he was overrated in this whole process because of the huge win, of course, he had at Alabama, but he doesn't look like nearly the same athlete and nearly the same thrower as the football as Josh Allen. For a guy that was this clear-cut number one guy, like, Luck had an absolute cannon. To me, Lawrence doesn't have a cannon, and right now, he's not that accurate. I don't think he's a very good quarterback at all.
Well, dude, that whole class, Fields is having a redemption, but I agree. Like, I think they signed the guy because they had to sign the guy, and, well, who knows what happens there. We'll see them in just a couple of weeks, but I want to get your take on, I think we all saw the Patriots' first 2 weeks and then how they played against the Jets. Like, those are the two things we've seen, right? So, do you think this week against the 49ers, they're the team we saw week 1, week 2? Or week 3, what type of team do you think we'll see this week?
I think we'll see the team that we saw the past 2 weeks. And look, I know they were in that game, of course, against Seattle. But you look at this Patriots team, it was awesome what they were able to do in terms of sort of fooling Joe Burrow in the first game. But I think we're finding out, hey, maybe the Bengals aren't as good as we thought they were. And the thing that concerns me is we knew they were going to have issues in terms of the offense, the passing game. They decided they weren't going to run the ball. I know Alex Van Pelt said he's taking the blame for that one. But you look at the defense. Has the defense been good? Besides, Keon White's having a good year. Christian Gonzalez is having a good year. But the passing defense is tied for 30th in completion percentage against. They're 27th in yards per game. They're 27th in passer rating. They're 27th in success rate. This defense hasn't been good, and they looked like they were behind the 8 ball. And I would also say in the last game, what was the game plan? It felt like they knew exactly what the Patriots were doing, and Aaron Rodgers just completely carved them apart. Brock Purdy's having an outstanding season throwing the football. I know he's dealing with a lot of injuries on that team, but he's number 1 in the NFL in completion percentage over expectation. He's second in passing yards per game. He's second in yards per attempt. And so on the Patriots' defensive side of the ball, I'm concerned. And then with the offense, I still don't know, outside of one half where they threw the ball to Hunter Henry a bunch, what they're going to do in terms of any sort of passing game. I know they tried to force it felt like a little bit, at least from my perspective, to Demario Douglas in that last game. And then I think about it, okay, well, the one guy that did have a big game for you, Hunter Henry, well, you got Fred Warner on the other side, who right now number 1 in the NFL in PFF's coverage grade amongst linebackers. I don't think Hunter Henry's going to have a big day. We still have all these concerns with the offensive line. And I know San Francisco has its own issues right now, but Juwan Jennings last week is 3 touchdowns. He's well over 100 yards. I don't see the Patriots stopping that San Francisco offense. And on the flip side, even though San Francisco doesn't have the same defense it's had in previous seasons, and a lot of that has to do with some injuries, the Patriots haven't really been consistent at all moving the football, and I don't see how that changes on Sunday.
All right, talking to Brian Barrett. He is of The Ringer. Brian, I think that this week would. So here, all right, ready? If I had to bet on it right now, I'm taking the Patriots plus 10.5. I bet the Patriots to be the worst team in the league. So the Patriots are who I thought they were, at least. But I don't think people realize that the 49ers aren't who we think they are. They're not. And it's probably injury related, but I have this thing about teams that lose the Super Bowl. But one of their biggest things, the number one thing they've done for the last 4 years, Brian, is yards after catch. They're worst in the NFL. Worst. They've gone, just without McCaffrey and Samuel, they've gone from the worst yards after catch. I think Purdy's doing too much. They're not getting enough production. You know, what happens with Trent, with their big left tackle this week? I don't know. Hargrave's out. I don't think the 49ers are right, but I do think the Patriots are the get-right team. At least they were for Seattle and the Jets. For the people who think, they're going to get crushed by the 49ers, I think they'll hang around. It just won't look as bad as we think it was because the 49ers aren't as good.
Yeah, I mean, to your point on that, you look at completed air yards. Purdy's first in the NFL at 625. Dak's second at 457. So it tells you, this team has always been yak monsters, right? We're talking about McCaffrey. You're talking about Debo, who's dealing with an injury, of course. Kittle, it's just not the same. A lot's been on Purdy's shoulders. The one thing I will say in terms of that is, if you look at Purdy this season, going into this matchup, if you look at 2.5 seconds or more when he has the time, he is the second highest rate of dropbacks that way. He's second in completion percentage, and he's first in yards by a large amount in terms of 620 yards after 2.5 seconds. You look at the Patriots, they're 28th in pressure percentage. So they have to find a way to get to Purdy to be able to bother that offense, because even with some of the playmakers out, he's been able to throw the ball pretty consistently. And the one thing you could look at is, if you go back to the Minnesota game where he struggled, and after the game he was seen talking to Brian Flores talking about his scheme, he was blitzed on 23 dropbacks that week, the second most in the NFL. Passer rating was 64.3, so bad, 23rd of 31 qualifiers. When he wasn't blitzed that week, he had a 129.2 rating, which was the third best. Now, I don't know if the Patriots can come up with a similar scheme to Minnesota. Minnesota right now is second in the NFL in blitz rate. The Patriots are just 17th. So that'd be my concern on that side of the ball, is I don't know if they're going to be able to generate enough pressure to get to Purdy. And then on the flip side, I do think the Patriots, if you're looking for a team to get right in terms of the passing game, the San Francisco passing defense has not been good. They're 25th in passer rating against. In general, they're 30th in yards per play. They've been bad on that side. And if you look at their corners, even Chidarius Ward, after the first 3 weeks, he's not even in the top 60 in PFF's cover grade amongst corners. So they're weak at the corner position. I just don't know if the Patriots are going to be able to take advantage of that. And the other thing I would look at is, you go to Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, Ramondre last week, he's going to be seeing 8-man boxes, I would assume, going forward here. He's, at just over 29%. And if you look at San Francisco 2 weeks ago, they loaded the box against Minnesota 40% in that particular game in terms of against their number one running back in that, well, not against Aaron Jones, but against, what's his name, the dude that had the most carries in that game for them. I forget his name off the top of my head, but they were 40% against him in that game. So I just wonder if teams are just going to say, you know what? We know what Ramondre can do as it pertains to the running game. Let's just take it away and dare Jacoby Brissett and these receivers to try to beat us, because I bet the bet is that they can't. And that's why I would be concerned, even if that number is pretty high. I think it's a get-right game, too, for San Francisco, considering they just gave that game away. I got to give a lot of credit to the Rams, but they had a lead and they were giving it up defensively.
Special teams, too. They crushed, missed a field goal, and then gave up that big play. Which is something the Patriots at least have been through the first game and, some things in the second. I love the stats, Brian. I'm always in on it because I don't love the Patriots this year. I don't think they win, but I think they keep it a little bit close because of the 49ers issues. And there's a lot we could get into when it comes to the Patriots. Just one more thing. Everyone just talks about when Drake May. The date that I have is that Jets game. It's because maybe he prepared for him that week. There's some familiarity. Maybe he got a little bit of a taste in that game, and it's just kind of the time to do it. But are you looking ahead, and do you think Brissett could make it that long?
Yeah, well, by the way, I should correct myself. It was Ty Chandler, the running back.
Ty Chandler. Who's on many fantasy teams on the bench. I know that. I've seen him there. He's on mine.
Yeah, so he saw 8-man boxes 40% of the time 2 weeks ago. That was the fourth highest rate in the NFL. But to your question about Drake May, my prediction is that he's going to start this Miami game coming up, where Miami has taken a lot of hits this season, obviously, with the injuries. Their defense has not been great. I feel like you're going to have a pretty great crowd if Drake May gets announced as the starter. And I would also say, it's unique to me because I really feel like, yes, the offensive line is an issue, but I also think that if you're the Patriots, and I think Mayo is actually looking at it this way, where as we know, he's getting 30% of the reps at practice. That wasn't just some report. Mayo confirmed it was going to be true. And I was shocked they put him in the game the other night. As I'm watching it, I'm freaking out. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you seeing what's happening to Jacoby Brissett in this game? You're going to put out Drake May. And after the game, Mayo said that it was important to get him some work with the one. So I think they look at this and they're like, well, Jacoby Brissett is getting pressured at the highest rate in the entire NFL right now. Drake May, if nothing else, he can make some plays with his legs in terms of he can throw the ball in the move. Maybe in the red zone, if you're lucky enough to get down there, you would incorporate him in some run game stuff as well, because we know he has some mobility. And if you look at his numbers last year, and I know it's college, but over 2.5 seconds is in the pocket, or over 2.5 seconds until you make the throw. He had the most big-time throws in the entire country last year, which is just further down the field into tighter windows if you're trying to figure out what that stat means. But basically, when he had to hold on to the ball, he was actually really productive because he can buy time. That's something that Jacoby Brissett, quite frankly, can't do. And if you look at this team where you don't have a lot of great receivers right now, the offensive line is not great. And maybe it's not the best thing for the development of the quarterback, but if you're asking what's in the best interest of the 2024 Patriots, like the team right now, I think that right now Drake May gives you a better chance to win games. And I think that's the way that, and I didn't think this was going to be the case, but after hearing Mayo talk about it, and he tried to I don't want to say he tried to backtrack, but this week he said Jacoby's our guy after saying all this stuff after the game where it said oh, maybe they are thinking about eventually making the switch to Drake. I think they're looking at in the short term and saying, hey, maybe if this is another bad week for Brissett, which I expect it to be, and I'm not saying Brissett is all to blame here. Clearly he doesn't have a ton to work with, but maybe they look at it and say, hey, we can put Drake May in and get more out of it. I'd also wonder this, too. I was thinking about this the other night. You think there's any pressure from the owner who basically anointed Gerard Mayo and has said that, he was this guy way back in 2019. We're watching Jaden Daniels on Monday night. I mean, this guy's incredible. If there's any pressure hey, let's get our guy out there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was the first thing we talked about. We ended up blaming the kicker for making the kick in the Denver game, and then now it's we missed on that guy, or they missed on that guy because I don't play on the field. Some people say we, but it's just it happens every once in a while. He's Brian Barrett. He's of the Ringer. Before I let you go, any take on Media Day? Your thoughts on maybe some of the Celtics comments or anything like that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to me, my biggest takeaway from the whole thing has been, and I thought this would be the case, I didn't think he'd be talking about it as much as he did at Media Day, but the biggest thing to me is that now Jason Tatum's shot is like a thing that is going to be something we talk about throughout the season. And it's so interesting to me because you look at his numbers last year, first 26 games, he shot 34.5% from deep. And you're like, oh, it's a carryover from the previous season. He's not going to shoot the ball well. Last 48 games of the regular season, 39.4% from three. So it was awesome. Playoffs, 28.3%. Olympics, couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. And I don't want to get into the whole Olympic thing, but that was certainly part of it in terms of why he didn't play is because of the shot. And to hear him talk about pickup points, shoulder positioning, getting low, like all these different things. And now we're seeing, you can see on social media sort of like his shot form last year compared to this year. The way that I look at this, Joe, and look, maybe I'm naive, but how many guys tinker with their shots and talk about their shots as much as Jason Tatum does? Like at this point, I mean, there's also the theory like, hey, maybe he's put on too much weight. Like you don't really see a lot of jacked shooters, and Tatum's pretty jacked right now. I mean, the only guy that comes to mind is Desmond Bane, but he's got T-Rex arms. I think he's got a shorter wingspan than his actual height. So maybe part of it is the muscular thing, but I think it's all in his head. I mean, he's got Drew Hanlon doing all this different stuff with him, talking about his shoulder. Like, think about that. You're going up there and you're trying to shoot. You think like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and even to use like a way lesser example as a shooter, I think Paul Pierce in the fourth quarter was thinking, hey, how's my shoulder positioning? Am I getting low enough? I just feel like he has completely overthought this thing, and he's a great player, and I defended him in the finals despite the poor shooting. Like, he had an awesome series guarding the center and being the facilitator. Like, he was awesome in that series, but I just worry that they're overthinking it, like, with his shot, and I almost feel like it's almost too robotic. Like, this guy grew up as a good shooter. He was a good shooter. Like, you look at his first 3 years, shot the three great, and I get it was more catch and shoot than it was pull-ups, and the attempts are more difficult. But I think this whole thing is in his head. Like, he should be a better three-point shooter. And we're out here at Media Day after you won a championship. We're talking about shoulder positioning and getting lower, and now it's like a huge story.
Good take. Haven't heard that yet anywhere. So I kind of like that one. People getting on him about his tattoo of himself, too. But, you know, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You're a big stat guy. So before we go, what is, you know, obviously Fangraphs always has the playoff odds. What is the Brian Barrett of the Ringer Red Sox chances to make the playoff? Where are you at that one?
I think we're at 0% now, aren't we?
We're at, yeah, it's above 0.0 at least.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's just disappointing the way that this went, and especially considering, obviously, Detroit notwithstanding, because they were excellent down the stretch of the season. That team deserves to be in. Skubal was awesome. I watched that game yesterday, and they've gotten production out of some of the Riley Green's been good, Carpenter's been good for them, but Minnesota has been terrible down the stretch. The Royals have been terrible down the stretch. Like, there was an opening for this Red Sox team, and they just couldn't get there. And I do wonder, like, at what point do we actually say, hey, you have at the beginning of the week, I looked at this. Since the start of 2020, they had the best batting average in baseball. They were fifth in OPS. They were fourth in slugging percentage. And during that stretch, they, of course, had one trip to the postseason. It's crystal clear what this team needs. They need a front-end starter. They probably need another starter as well. I mean, I would get into the Garrett Crochet sweepstakes because it appears they're going to have to trade him. I know he wants an extension, but it's the guy that's number one in baseball in strikeout percentage. I know that you're going to have to get uncomfortable and probably trade away one of your top prospects. If I was going to trade away one of those guys, clearly it's not Anthony. It would be Marcelo Meyer to me. His health has been an issue, and he hasn't hit lefties. The OPS is south of 700, so against lefties this year, so that's the guy I'd probably target. But the thing is, and then I would go after Blake Snell too. Like, it's crystal clear. Like, you have to get more consistency in this rotation. Crochet fits the timeline. He'd be entering his 26-year-old season. But if you want to be serious, you got to improve the starting pitching. It's been horrible, really, since the start of 2020. Even, Joe, the year they made the postseason, remember in 2021, like, Nate Eovaldi had a good season, but, like, they at the end of the year, remember how they got into the playoffs? Nick Pivetta out of the bullpen, like this, he had the walk-off curveball against Soto. Like, it was a struggle at the end of that season. So I just feel like at some point, like, they got to stop being cute with these guys that they go, oh, Giolito, we feel like we can fix his fastball. And I understand he's dealing with injuries. But even like the past couple of years, the Paxtons of the world, all these guys, they think, hey, they come here, we'll get more out of them. Well, we don't really have proof of concept of that. So just go get good pitchers. Try to trade for Crochet. Try to sign Blake Snell. And even if you worry about the health of Snell and you don't want to pay, maybe you don't want to pay Crochet all this money, well, then what are we doing? Like, at some point, you got to start to pay for certainty in the rotation.
Well, Dick Fitz had a really good run. 19 innings, no runs. And then it all blew up on the 20th.
Yeah, and look, maybe he's going to be good down the future, but I mean, he's got problems in terms of he just he can't miss bats. I mean, that's his problem. I thought Houck improvement this year. I like the way that Bayo closed out the season. Maybe you have something with Crawford, but I just feel like you got to go out there and put somebody at the top end of this rotation. I mean, it's the way you win in this sport.
He's Brian Barrett, everybody. He's of The Ringer. Check out his podcast. Check out all his work there as well. And have you seen the Vince McMahon documentary?
I haven't yet. I was thinking about firing that up tonight. I'm one episode behind on the Hernandez show, so I'm debating what I want to fire up after this Red Sox game. If I want to fire up Hernandez or Vince.
In or out on the Hernandez doc?
I mean, I think that the way that I put it, the first two episodes, and I feel like it's well written and the story's good, but it's not well acted. If that makes any sense. I don't think the actors in that show. And look, I mean, obviously I'm not an actor, so who am I to say? But I just feel like it's not really well acted. But I thought Urban Meyer being a scumbag, we kind of all knew that was we kind of, and when he comes out in the second episode, spoiler alert for anybody that's listening, where he comes out and he gets a 1-game suspension for his buddies being involved in a shooting, and Cam Newton gets kicked off the team for stealing a laptop. I'm like, whoa. And Hernandez got suspended for the UNLV game. I'm like, whoa, this is a little bit. But I thought they did a good job with his parents, how his mother and especially how hard his father was on him. So I think the story's good. I just don't. I don't know. Where are you on it? Because
I don't even want to watch it.
I'm interested in it.
I'm out.
Okay.
I don't care.
Yeah.
No, it's hard. That's what they want to do, is make a dramatization of what actually happened. I don't know. Is it really that fascinating? Don't we already know?
Yeah, I thought the original. I thought the original documentary I don't even remember that was on. But remember that documentary a couple of years ago?
Netflix. It was on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Telling the actual story.
That was great. Yeah, I just don't need people acting.
I see your point. Yeah, I see your point. But yeah, it's. I'm interested to see how the football scenes go, because people always mess that up, in Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's this doesn't look real.
All right, he's Brian Barrett of The Ringer. Everybody, Brian, appreciate your time, my man, and we'll catch up soon.
Anytime, Joe. Appreciate it, man.
You got it. He's Brian Barrett, everybody, of The Ringer, and I'm Joe Murray. Let's get you caught up right now on everything happening in Sports Hub headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, we got In or Out coming up next here on the Sports Hub. Thanks to Brian Barrett for joining us here tonight. I got a lot of people talking to me about my chair. I mean, I don't know how much higher I can go, bro. Plus, you know what? Hot confession. I have a confession. Stenberg, I don't know if you have these issues. I'm a large human, okay? Do you ever walk into a restaurant and maybe the booth's a little tight, or maybe you realize you might need to lose a couple of pounds because the belly's getting in the way of the table? Has that ever happened to you? I have that problem often. Has that ever happened to you? No?
It is not, but
Okay.
I could see that being a frustration.
Okay, yes. Everyone, and if these are like old booths, the big booths now, I get right in there, okay? But you know what I'm out on? Like a true confession. If we ever go out together and someone goes, do you want a high top or a low top? Out on high top tables. I'm out. I don't want to be Humpty Dumpty on a table. I don't want my feet dangling or have to hang on for life on the little footstool. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm on a very high chair right now, and I am out on high tops. Out.
I don't like them either. They feel like a high chair, like you're a child.
Exactly. Yes. I don't want to be on the child chair. I'm an adult.
I don't want to kick my legs and not feel the ground.
Yes. Yes. You get it. See, you get it. This is a whole lead-in to the next segment that we're doing, which is called In or Out, and we'll do that next, coming up next with who? Matthew Stenberg tonight. I'm Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
about a 16. He's
what's
what,
Porzingis' shoe size?
Porzingis.
Joe, our intern, can you look that? Can you give me? Shaq had a 21.
Porzingis has got to be like a 20, right?
Shaq had a 21, and he had a Reebok shoe because I used to go to Olympia Sports as a kid, and they would have that thing on. I'm very curious on shoe sizes, but yeah, I'm out on the sneaker.
All right, next up, the A's are leaving Oakland, as we all know. They decided to release a new hat.
Yes.
That had the A's logo kind of faded across the front, which spelled ass.
A''S with a little bit of an S in there.
Yeah, because
the hat said ass.
Of course it did. Of course it
did. In. Always in. Always. Listen, this thing was on the website. They took it down because I sent it to you, Matt, because you're a hat guy.
Yep.
I said, hey, what do you think?
I looked for it.
You looked through how many pages did you look?
I looked for it over the course of the team website. I looked everywhere. I want this hat.
I want the hat.
Couldn't find it. Couldn't find a place to buy it.
Like if the Red Sox had said socks, but by accident it said sucks. In. Give me the hat.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it yet, I can retweet it if you want. But it says ass.
Yeah.
Always in.
Yep. I would have gotten that myself. Wanted to, couldn't do it. Anyway, so there was a video surfacing suggesting a live-action South Park from AI.
Did you see it?
I did.
Okay. I'm in. Before you even ask me, I'm in, but go ahead.
I'm all in. I just wanted to let the audience know. So Jonah Hill as Cartman, Michael Cera as Stan, Seth Green as Kyle, Pete Davidson as Kenny. And I'm all in. I am absolutely.
How could you not like this?
This is incredible.
Who is, by the way, dude's dad, Stan's dad?
Marsh. Randy.
James Franco.
Oh, James. Yeah.
James Franco was Randy.
Randy.
In.
Absolutely.
This would be great. This would be Pineapple Express South Park edition.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if they'd have the episode of the, everyone's opening a dispensary now. Oh, I'd love that. Give me that one all day. By the way, South Park, congratulations to you, because I don't know how you get away with what you do.
You just offend everyone.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yes, but we can't.
No, we can't. But they've been doing it for 25 years.
And have been absolutely excellent. But AI did not. And listen, I'm kind of out on AI. That was good. I'm in on the AI South Park. I hope they make it happen.
That would be awesome. All right, next up. Tom Brady has been calling games for Fox this season. However, the network has rejected Netflix for Tom to broadcast the games on Christmas, in or out.
I mean, I want Tom to spend Christmas with his family. What do you think he's doing on Christmas?
I don't know.
Like the greatest football player ever. Traveling somewhere for Christmas Day?
I kind of thought that he was too big for broadcasting anyway.
Me too.
Like, I don't know why he's doing this.
So Netflix approached Fox. Fox said no. Why? Do they want the exclusivity? Is that what it is?
It's got to be that, right? He hasn't been great.
Fox probably needs help.
Restaurants, Joe, they take reservations, meaning it's hard to get a table when there's nobody there. Sit there, you drink at the bar.
What are we eating? What's on the menu?
Oh, they've got their own apothecary. So they have their own honey. They have fresh Southern biscuits. And, they have a unlimited pancake
Are you telling
menu.
me that it's worth the wait?
I would say it's worth the wait. They have bacon pancakes, which is also pretty insane.
Wait a second. They put the bacon in the pancake and then bacon.
The bacon's
is there is it like a maple bacon already? Oh man, now we're talking.
And they have all the fresh syrup, the fresh honey. And like I said, the waiting is actually kind of part of the experience, if that makes sense. So you don't really care if you have to wait that long because you're out there, you're playing games, you have access to the bar, you're out in the sun. It's fun.
I'm going to tell you right now, though. There's not many places I would go and wait 2.5 hours for. That's why the Kowloon's the best restaurant of all time.
Hey, that's totally fair. If I go places with McCarthy and Barth up here, they'll be like, it's a 45-minute wait. Oh. They're immediately out. And I'm like, wait, what? Oh, no.
Well, you guys will drive to the North Shore. You'll go to Woodman's like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, are you waiting at Woodman's when you go in?
Yeah, I'll wait there.
Yeah, you'll wait because there's a line.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
You drive to the North Shore.
Yeah.
You wait in line. You see the water. You get your fried clams. You go and sit down. It's what you do.
Absolutely.
You go get ice cream at Richardson's and you go home.
Exactly.
It's a day.
I've done that exact thing.
It's a day.
Yep.
All right, that's it for In or Out tonight. We'll save the rest for later in the week. He's Matt Stenberg. I'm Joe Mario. Let's get an update here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
WBC-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Patriots preparing for Sunday's game against San Francisco. Kyle Duggar was named a team captain today. Juwan Bentley placed on injured reserve. Christian Gonzalez, though, is on the injury report. He was limited today. And the Red Sox in action right now, down 6-1 to Toronto. Headlines, they are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Joe Murray. Next update soon.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Felger and Maz are just his pregame.
They've been getting wholesale deals for years.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Got Stenberg here tonight. Intern Joe's back there. What was that call? Someone just called you. What happened there? I'm very curious to know. You know, people sometimes just call in sometimes. So what happened there?
Apparently at Michigan games, they play Mr. Brightside. Michigan State, sorry. And they cut the song off at certain times. And,
so everyone can sing?
Yeah. That was the call.
But, like, does anybody care about Michigan State?
Not in football.
They lost to BC last week. Like, if you're going to do it right. Mr. Brightside.
All right, apparently it was Michigan, not Michigan State.
Oh, it's Michigan. Okay,
No.
the Big House does it?
The Big House.
What do they say? I'm just killing, it's killing me. Anyways, one note on this Jaylen Brown thing. We're going to talk to Bobby Manning coming up in a little bit from CLNS. Jaylen Brown's launching his own sneaker brand. It's called 741. But this is something that when I look at Jaylen Brown, I said that he's a big leader, but I really like what he's doing here. He turned down over $50 million in endorsement deals from other major sneaker companies to pursue ownership and creative control of his own brand. And to me, that's respect right off the bat. Obviously, we know what happened with him with Team USA this year. Team USA has a relationship with Nike. Jaylen Brown originally had a relationship with Adidas years ago. So, sounds like him and Nike have some problems, but I'm not making this a Jason Tatum versus Jaylen Brown thing. So, don't think that. But Jaylen Brown really has invested his money into own things, creative control things, helping many people that he supports, opening up jobs. He's doing a lot and does a lot for the city of Boston. I think Jason Tatum's done a lot too. Jason Tatum, though, loves to give back to his old hometown, though. Loves to do things in St. Louis. Also loves his Nike sneakers and his Ruffles chips and whatever else he does because he's so marketable. I just got to give props for Jaylen Brown going a little bit of solo here. Turning down big money to start his own. Although I think his sneaker's ugly, I support him 100% on this. I like what he did. I like the message. I like the meaning behind everything. Good on Jaylen Brown. We're going to talk to Bobby Manning. He was at Celtics Media Day yesterday. We'll get his thoughts on everything happening with the green. We'll do that next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. We're here until 11 o'clock tonight. Hoping to talk to Bobby Manning. He is from CLNS. Yesterday was media day, so a lot of people got to get down there and have a little bit of one-on-one time. I know today that Bobby had a chance to hang out with Lonnie Walker, one of their new additions. He's on an Exhibit 10 contract. And a guy that's had double-digit scoring in the league, played with Derek White in his time in San Antonio. He's got a pretty good relationship with Joe Mazzulla. I know the players respect him as well, so hoping to hear from Bobby coming up in just a few minutes here. But, you know, there are all these people that are out there who still doubt the Boston Celtics, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. A lot of doubters out there. They know about it. And let's talk to our buddy Bobby Manning. He joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. He's over at CLNS. He was all over the place at Celtics Media Day yesterday, and he joins us here on 98.5 The Sports. What's up, Bobby? How was it yesterday?
It was great. I was glad to be back at it. Short off season, but by the end of it, there's so little to talk about and so little going on that you're ready to get back in there. So it was great, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of these guys out there in about a week.
Well, you know, I'm sure for you, I guess, there was so little to talk about. But one observation, didn't it seem like this team is locked in? Maybe doesn't need any more motivation. Maybe they've taken on the identity of their coach, and it's clear that Jaylen Brown's the leader of this team and that there's only one focus in mind, and they know about the window here. Like, wasn't that kind of a vibe from Media Day?
Yeah, I felt that they were relaxed, focused. There's definitely a weight off their shoulders for the most part. Now, the Olympic stuff lingering with Tatum a little bit, I don't love, but I'm sure that's something he can get past quick enough. Again, didn't love his comments about that, but I understand where he's coming from. I probably would have just brushed it off more like Jaylen did if I was him. But besides that, again, given the experience they had last year, given the confidence they have in Joe at this point, it is interesting to hear guys repeat those Joe-isms, whether it was Drew Holiday talking about people are going to hate you, some people are going to think you're great, stuff like that. You just get a sense that they believe in him. They believe in the things he wants them to do. And that's the big thing right now. Brad was talking about that too. Like, they need a sacrifice again this year. Joe was saying they need to be able to react to their environment. If things change, they need to be able to be ready to change and just know that they're not going to win the exact same way that they did as last year. It might have to be a different way, and we'll see what that becomes. He didn't have a lot of concrete things that he's looking to change in that sense yet. As they get into it, I think there was just a lot of sprinting going on today. But they want to be flexible, but they also want to repeat a lot of the stuff that they were able to do last year in terms of everybody fully committing to their roles. And I think there was a cautiousness, especially on Brad's part, of saying, you know, we're the favorites, we're running it back, you know, we're the best here. It's fragile, and they know, and Joe's talked about it, no one has repeated since 18.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta lock in, and they're being very cautious in terms of how much they're saying we're the defending champs. You know, we're going to repeat right now.
Bobby, I was impressed with what Drew Holiday said the most. Hey, so what do you think about the expectations this year? And he goes, well, some people are going to say we suck. Some people, you know, are going to think we're not good enough. But we're the best team, and we're just going to ride. It was kind of like, you know, I love that kind of like confidence. You know what I mean? Not swag, right? Confidence. Sorry from him. But do you feel like, besides all the motivation from this summer, because clearly there was a lot, do you think there's still doubters of the Boston Celtics and what they did last year?
There shouldn't be, and there's reason to look at this year and say it could be a little tougher. And Brad has said that too in interviews and things, that it's going to be more challenging this time around for a variety of reasons. Some of it's the outside teams loading up. competition, probably a tougher playoff path around this time around. But also just knowing that you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish a year ago. You have that championship glow, and now you have to go and do it again, especially in the regular season. Like, that's what I'm going to really be focused on this year. I don't think it's a flip-the-switch team. I don't think that they can start 15-15 and just turn on the switch midway through the year and roll. And I know Porzingis' return will probably be a boost whenever that happens. But they do need to get off to a strong start while balancing the fact that they're going to have to rest, that they're going to have to ease the load on a guy like Horford, a guy like Holiday. And that's going to be a tough balance to strike, especially for Joe. Like, I think Joe's the kind of guy who wants to win every game, who's that intense. And you could feel it at media day, right? It almost looked like Joe after a game at just how intense and locked in he was. And that's going to be a tough balance to strike. They need to get off to a good start. They need to have that night-to-night consistency and effectiveness that they had last year. But they can't put too much on Horford's shoulders while Porzingis is out. They can't overload a guy like Holiday who's turning 34. So there's a balance there. Like, they could drop down to 2, Joe, right? 3 maybe even, and you'll still feel good about them come playoff time. But you don't want to drop too far. You don't want to drop off too far from where you were last year. So I'm interested to see how they strike that balance, especially for Joe.
All right, we're talking with Bobby Manning, CLNS Media. You guys got a great job, you guys do, all the way through the finals and even the parade last year. So I got to give you props for that. All right, so Jason Tatum said some things. One of them was, we haven't seen the best Jason Tatum. I agree with that, by the way. But he's got a new three-point shot. I did think it was a little weird he brought that up. We were just talking to Brian Barrett from The Ringer, and he's like, here you are, everyone's defended and motivated, and he's talking about changing his shot. Have you seen it? Have you looked at it? Do you think it needed to be said? Is it something now we're going to watch all year? Like, is this now a storyline about his three-point shot?
Yeah, he probably needed to adjust it a little bit. Now I'm intrigued by how much he adjusted it. He talked about hand placement. He talked about where his shoulders are positioned. Even his lower body movement. It sounded like an overhaul from the way he described it. And then when we saw it today, it didn't look drastically different. Now, I'm not a shot doctor. I'm not a shot expert, so I asked around a little bit about it, and it does seem like it's different. Like, it's pretty clear that he did change it, and it looked different so far through practice and camp and all that. So is it going to help? Is it going to lead to more consistency? I think it's pretty clear, given the length of the drought he went through in the playoffs, that something did go wrong, and he admitted as such at media day too there that he could feel something off mechanically there, but there wasn't enough time to go back into the lab and address it. Now, did he have to change as much as it seems like he did here? Again, I'm not an expert on that kind of thing, so I am watching that. I think it might be the biggest story going into the year is where that three-point shot's at, because he's going to shoot a lot of them. I think him pulling up and being that aggressive jump shooter is a major part of this offense, and they were able to get around it. Particularly in how the other teams were guarding him. There was a lot of pressure on him in a lot of those games, especially around the rim. But if he's not able to knock those down, if he's not a threat to be a consistent, effective jump shooter, I do think that changes the way the defense guards you. Now, I'll say this. I still wonder how much of it was mechanical and how much of it was shot selection, where he was taking those, how much pressure was on him when he was taking those, because I want to say he was 18% on contested threes in the playoffs and still around 40% on open threes. Now, he's not going to be wide open much in the playoffs, but can you generate some better looks for him? Can you generate some catch-and-shoot opportunities for him? I think a little bit of this year is going to be about making it easier for him from a shot selection standpoint, because it was tough for him last year. Really difficult shots, playing in traffic, always taking on double teams, and he passed well out of those situations. He didn't turn it over much, and that's why they won the championship. But it made it really difficult on him as a scorer. So I do wonder how much was mechanical and how much was his shot selection in those spots, because I do think he still takes 2 to 3 shots a game that are extremely difficult or even ill-advised. And if you could just cut those out, the efficiency would pop up, especially from deep.
Yeah, like he did better doing less, but now he wants to add. I mean, hey, listen, I'm down with him adding something to his game. I just think him doing less with what he was doing actually was better for the team. So,
right, the approach was right. The approach was correct. And I do like that he said, I played well even though he was shooting, because I agree with that. But it's better for him to shoot well than not shoot well, obviously. And he's been a guy who's been a 37, 38% three-point shooter throughout his career. Interestingly enough, he didn't come into the league highly regarded as a three-point shooter. So whatever he worked on coming into the league, or even just his role at that point, worked well for him being an effective three-point shooter. Maybe it's that defensive pressure. Maybe it's the fact that he's taking a lot of pull-ups now, and that might not be as effective for his form or whatever that might be. That's led to some of the consistency here. But it's weird because he shot so well during the regular season. So I'm very interested to see what it looks like in game action, because it's tough to tell from the little that we see of him just shooting around after practice. All
right, talking to Bobby Manning, CLNS. One last thing, Bobby. I know you guys did a really nice feature on Lonnie Walker. It's not necessarily the question. It's an interesting signing, right? A guy who played in the league, double digits, friendly with Derek White, etc. Should make an impact at some point with some of the injuries. But it's really, he talked about why he wanted to sign with the Celtics and, Joe Mazzulla. Can you get into a little bit more of Mazzulla's impact on that? Because we see it all the time, right? The Patriots would always get these guys that just wanted to play and win, right? Well, this is now where the Celtics are at, and they got one of those guys. But I think it was the coach who made it happen. Tell everyone about that.
Yeah, I think Derek White had an impact certainly too, and Brad talked about that. And he discussed his free agency today, and he doesn't have a great idea of why he didn't garner much interest in terms of guaranteed contracts. I don't know what was available to him out there, but it is curious that he comes into camp on a training camp deal, and I don't know if it's inconsistency over the last couple of teams. He's bounced around a little bit now in his career. So it might just be about wanting to find a stable home here. And if they are outlining a path for him to get there, that's a good thing in my mind. And I know a lot of people are very confused. I think it's the number one question I'm getting asked right now is how could this guy who shot 38% last year and had a pretty good season in Brooklyn end up in Maine? And that seems to be the path that he could be on right now, is starting the year in Maine. Usually you play about like 30 to 60 days in the G League, and you get your bonus on this contract that he's on. But I think there's the possibility that he could tailor his game in that spot to fit in on the Celtics better than, he's capable of doing right now. Maybe habits, he's still a relatively young player, getting back to the basics in terms of having those winning habits of just day in and day out work. And he's talked a lot about that, the fact that he's, got to prove himself. He's got to, prove his professionalism, all that different kind of stuff, being in there every day, early, leaving late. And he's done that. You see it on his social media and all that. He's been in there pretty extensively throughout, and people are excited about him, and why not, right? He was a guy who had like top 10 pick pedigree before injury struck, and I talked to his old college coach this week, and he thinks it was a big part of what threw him off. Injury in college, injury to start his career in San Antonio, and then injuries with the Lakers in Brooklyn that knocked him out of those rotations. And there's not a clear path to him joining this rotation, at least right away. And that's why I think that they're trying to slow track him to Boston. And it's risky, right, because he's not on the team. If anyone just wanted to pluck him up out of Maine, they could do so. But the fact that he said he's willing to go to the G League, and that's, accepting a massive pay cut below the league minimum. You're flying commercial planes up there. I don't know if you've been up there, that facility, Joe. It's not the most pristine lifestyle that you're living up there. But Luke Cornett did it, right? And he changed his game, and within a year, he was a big, big part of that Boston rotation.
Got a nice extension, too, right?
Right. So could you see Lonnie Walker tailor his game, adjust it to fit in with what the Celtics are doing? Because he's not going to have the ball a ton, right? He's not going to be the guy running sets. He's not going to be the star here. He's going to be catching and shooting a lot, and he's going to be relied on to defend his position. And that's a big thing Joe talked about today. If he can do those things, he might stick on. But the big thing right now, if they sign him to start the year, it's a $10 million tax hit. So I do wonder if they're just trying to skip as much time as they can because it's prorated, right? Yeah. So if he's here for half the year, it's half that tax hit. So we'll see. The fact that he's willing to accept that main role, though, is pretty intriguing because it's a guy who had big pedigree, big high school prospect. They love guys like that, who just didn't have the start of his pro career go the way he would have hoped. And for him to be that humble and come in and, not accept any role out of the gate like that, that's pretty rare, and it's pretty intriguing that he's willing to go to that length to fit in on a winning team.
What a note you just dropped there. If they do add him, they have to pay the 10% tax. Whew. Just on that real quick. Clearly, the window is now for this team, and I feel like I feel it. I can feel like everyone feels that. But do you have anything on the new owner? Like, is there anything? Did you get any? No. Is there anything that we don't know yet, Bobby? Have you dug into it at all?
Yeah, I haven't gotten a ton on it, and I think there's probably a lot of confidentiality inside, and I think that's kind of where Peg Luke has been at in terms of his commentary, because he's obviously the only suitor we know of right now. I have a good sense that it's not a Bezos-style guy, which, I think that would excite people most, a guy with that level of deep pockets to be able to keep this team together here. So I don't think it's going to be a guy like that. I haven't heard anything about the Henry stuff, which I know people are intrigued by too. That's obviously a name that's been floated by the New York Post, and I don't have a sense of whether or not he's involved. I know he had some comments in the Globe about not being interested in adding to his portfolio right now, and that's the interesting thing to me. I know Bill Simmons floated Bezos, and that didn't end up being accurate. Could he be in on a Seattle? And I know they're trying to add a Seattle in a couple of years to the league. Vegas, I know there's Fenway connection there and LeBron and all that. So I do wonder now, would it be a better investment to go with an expansion team who's going to have a big, maybe as much as it would cost to buy the Celtics expansion fee, or the Celtics, who are going to cost, $5-6 billion, and then you take on this payroll that could be $500 million, with tax involved in 2026. You obviously have to maybe build a new arena if you want to get that sort of income here. So I wonder if it'd be a better investment for an owner to wait on Seattle, wait on Vegas, even though it's going to be tougher to build those teams up. You're not going to have the revenue sharing right away that you would if you were Boston, but the cost would be so much lower of buying one of those franchises. So I wonder if that's why Bezos, if he was involved, got cold feet on Boston or stuff like that. And obviously, it's out there that they haven't really gotten that process rolling so far. I think it's supposed to, change hands by the end of the year here, and we're getting pretty close to that point. So I'd expect more information to start rolling out there, but it's a big deal. Whoever's picking up this team could say on a moment's notice, we got to cut costs next year, and next year is obviously the year where it's going to be a $500 million payroll, and it's difficult. It's ugly to cut costs if you have to do it. From a front office standpoint, I think they're taking it year by year. If they win the championship this year, I think they have every intention of running this team back and doing it again for a three-peat. But if you don't, I think it gets harder to take a $500 million payroll on, which would be an NBA record going into the next year, considering this team's finances and everything we've learned in the reporting so far. So don't have a good sense of who it will be. Obviously, I think Peg Luka being the only name out there right now, some new investors and stuff like that, that would make a lot of sense. But is that group capable of taking on that kind of payroll? It's a big number, and again, it does put a lot of pressure on this team this year to get this done again.
Just added motivation. This is what they need, right? The Celtics sometimes weren't motivated. I think they have way too much motivation this year, and that's why I'm going to say they're going back to back, like the Drake song. Going back to back. He's Bobby Manning, everybody. Check out his work, CLNS. Excellent job, Bobby. I know the guys love talking to you because I see you on all the post-game stuff, so they know who you are.
Yeah, we got practice coverage all week, so check it out, CLNS Media, the Garden Report. We just did a media week preseason preview there, and we're going to have games a week from Friday. They're off to Abu Dhabi. They'll be playing the Nuggets.
That's right. Are you going? Are you going to Abu Dhabi?
I was torn, and we are not. A 15-hour flight was a little much for a couple of days there.
Xanis couldn't get you guys? Can get you guys going there?
We looked into it, but we want to be at some regular season games.
I like John. I'm just busting his chops.
I don't think too many reporters are going, from what I hear. So it's going to be a sparse group out there if there's anyone.
Well, it could be like the Ubuntu. Who knows, right? Could be a big thing all over again. Bobby, appreciate your time, man. We'll be talking all basketball season long, man. Appreciate you, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe. Good talking to you.
You got it. He's Bobby Manning, everybody. CLNS, and he's not going to Abu Dhabi. I don't think anybody is. I would. I don't think anybody else is.
Think B-Rob's going?
He's not. I already asked him. I'm running out of people to ask. Anyways, I got a story that I think is the first quarterback holdout, or should I say the first holdout in college football history. We'll talk about that coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Back here at 98.5 The Sports. I'm giving Dennis Knutson a chef's kiss on his way out of here. He also gave me a heart. So, thank you, Dennis. Stenberg's here. Intern Joe's back there. I got a story to tell you. I got a story, and it's a national news story in college football, but I'm going to bring it back home, here to the New England area. Quarterback Matt Sluka, everybody. Maybe you heard the name today. Maybe you've heard the name before. But very interesting story here. He was the quarterback at UNLV until today. UNLV started 3-0 on the season. Some of you may be familiar with Matt Sluka. Matthew Sluka played for Holy Cross last year, or the last couple of years. In my opinion, Holy Cross has been the best New England college sports team. We have John Serenides on from New England Football Journal. We'll have him on this Friday night, so we'll break down the story a little bit more. But he graduated from Holy Cross and has a year of eligibility, a redshirt year. So he leaves Holy Cross to go play for UNLV, who's got an up-and-coming program. Matt Sluka today announced that he had an NIL issue. So for those who don't know, these collectives at the school, they're basically friends of the program. They help fund money for the NIL. They help negotiate the deals with these players. So Matthew Sluka announced today that he's sitting out the rest of the season due to not being paid his complete NIL deal. Here's the story, and we got ourselves a source war. Source war. Reportedly, Matthew Sluka was given a verbal $100,000 offer by an assistant coach to transfer from Holy Cross to UNLV. Sounds like Sluka has only received $3,000 of that $100,000. That's one report. There's another report out there that his family has pulled him out because they started 3-0 and feel like $100,000 isn't enough, which I agree. We have ourselves the first holdout in college football history. Quarterbacks can go to a school like UNLV in a big conference. Power 5, no. Power 4 now. But he can play there, go 3-0, use his redshirt year, and now go out and get more than $100,000. I'm telling you, the way that Matt Sluka played, Michigan, Tennessee, all the big boys who need a quarterback, right? Florida. All these quarterbacks, those schools got money to pay a quarterback. So now Matthew Sluka has gone from Holy Cross to UNLV for $100,000. But his family's telling him, hey, you're on a 3-0 team. Why don't you take your red shirt and let another team now give you more money? So whether the school offered him the deal and didn't go through with it, the fact is, him being 3-0, worth $100,000, it's in his best interest to take the redshirt year and go play for a bigger program and make more money next year. Do I blame the school or do I blame the athlete? Because you know what else happened today at UNLV? Their running back did the same exact thing, transferring out and using his redshirt year. What's going on at UNLV, or have these guys been poached by other programs to let them know, hey, what's your number, 100,000? We'll give you $1 million. The NIL right now, this is the first problem. And by the way, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s got his own little thing going on right now. This NIL deal, you're now going to have quarterbacks that can do well in 3 or 4 games and literally say, well, you know what? I'm not getting enough money here. I'm going to transfer. That's what's going on. Now, Pete Thamel's been all over this. Pete Thamel thinks that he didn't ask for more than the $100,000 from UNLV. He just wasn't given the $100,000. We got ourselves a source war. All I'm telling you is this is not good for college football. We'll have musings coming up next. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. It's 9:50. Stenberg, you know what time it is, right?
In the world unrelated to sports. So sit back, relax, and get your mind in the game and listen to the words of a grown man complaining.
Murray's Musings here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. What can on a cheap card, Stenberg? You know what? Because cards nowadays, bro, you have $4 to $8 for a card nowadays.
I send a text.
Accept what you do. You know that? You're that person. Hey, at least Stenberg sent me a text. Like one of those things, right? I'm a card guy. Retirements, engaged cards. It's fact.
That's good to know.
You know what else they have? Especially if you're a bachelor. Like, let's just say you got your own place. They get the most cheapest toiletries out there. You need a bucket for your bathroom, or you need that little scrubber weird thing with the plunger. It's got like an all-in-one kit. If you need bowls and glasses, it's a bachelor's dream. You can probably get out of there $50 and it's like, dude, we're good. Sponges, right? See, you never really think of what you really need in the world until you walk into a dollar store. Don't know where this came from. Again, this is Musings. So we got birthdays coming up in a minute. I'll give you your birthdays. But I found this story interesting, so I'm actually curious how people feel. And I see our friends in the chat right now. 83 people in there. Riz is in there. I see you all. Leaper, Babe, David, all you guys. I see you. So I'm going to throw this out here. I go to Market Basket maybe 3 times a week. I'm friends with the people now. I walk in. I go to the a la carte over there. I look in the little bin where they put things up there to grab and go. Sometimes it's the tendies. Yesterday I got the tendies. But they were running out of sauces, so I wanted ranch and blue cheese. They only had blue cheese, and I had to get sweet chili or whatever. So, I walked in, but I didn't get what I want. It's always an experience, Stenberg, when I go to Market Basket. Always, okay? But I read this article. In Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, a shopper stumbled upon an envelope. They found the envelope on the ground, and what was in the envelope? Matt, what do you think it was? What do you think was in the envelope?
Was it money?
It was money. So before I share the story, because I don't know if you read the story yet.
I have not. I just guessed.
And intern Joe, you can get in on this too. If you found an envelope of money in the parking lot at Market Basket, what are you doing with it? I find it's mine. Now, it depends the scenario. Like, it really, oh man, I went Joey Murder real quick there. You find an envelope of cash? It's striking gold. It's me all you want, everyone. I know most of you would do it too. Stenberg? Do you know how much money was in this envelope?
I'll go $500.
What would you do with it if $500 was in the envelope?
I don't know if I'd pick up the envelope. That's the thing. If I just saw an envelope.
Oh, like bait car. Yeah. Like you think you might be baited.
No, I would probably just look down, see an envelope, and just keep going. Like it's not mine. I don't know what's. It's not my deal.
Oh no. Curiosity, bro. I'm a very curious person.
Oh well, if I found an envelope and went into it and looked at it and there was money in there, I would probably just.
You would ignore it. That's your answer.
So I would ignore the envelope, but if my option is to pick up the envelope, I would definitely take the money.
Okay. Intern Joe, I don't know if his mic works. He's never been on the air before. So, Joe, I'm asking you your first question ever on air. It's his first time ever on the radio. Don't be nervous. But if you found, you can just keep replaying the bed. All right, here we go. Joe Medeiros. He is of Dean College, an intern. It's his first time on the air, and I'm asking you a personal question, sir. If you found an envelope with money in it, what are you doing?
That's a good question, Joe. I'm not too sure. $500, that's a lot of money. Depends on where it is, though, really.
What are you doing? Just what are you doing? Finders keepers, right?
That envelope doesn't exist anymore, Joe.
There you go. Joe the intern, everybody. It doesn't exist anymore. It disappeared. What envelope? What envelope? Right? That's exactly what it is. Now let me read you the story. A shopper recently stumbled upon an envelope with $12,000 in the parking lot.
That's how much? It was $12,000?
I think the guy who found the envelope of $12,000 did.
Oh, I mean, the fact that it's in the news, he probably reported it.
He gave it back.
To who, though? Like, was there a name on the envelope?
He went back into the store. He was greeted by the manager named Dan. They looked through the surveillance camera to track down the envelope. They began the investigation. A regular shopper known as Skip was standing at the service desk with an envelope in his hand. We were about to leave when the manager came over to us, and a man named Skip, he'd found. The manager, I don't know, the manager of the Market Basket went on to say it was so very nice. I don't know a lot of people who would have done that. But the man who did find it, who gave it back with integrity and compassion, was given a $300 reward.
$300 out of 12 grand.
Multiple layers here now, right? There's layers upon layers now. First off, you just walked out on 12 G's. What would $12,000 do for your life right now? Found money?
100 from the same envelope?
So here's the deal.
I'm worried if it's
here's the deal.
Bad money.
12 grand, right? 10%'s $120. Is it? Yeah, right. So the dude they got 30%. Right? Am I doing the math right? Oh, now I'm doing Joe math. Doesn't matter. $300 isn't enough. It's like being the caddy for the guy that wins the golf tournament who gets like $100.
10% would be $1,200.
Why does my math suck? Why does my math suck?
He probably got like 3%.
3%. Whatever. $300 isn't enough. Just like Matthew Sluka's money isn't enough. That's never enough. You should have taken the money. Take the money. Listen, there are times in my life where I wish I took my own advice. I don't want anyone to steal from me. I don't. I really don't. But if I lose something out of my pocket, that is my fault. I'm responsible. Now, Skip, I would have been nervous. Maybe I.
You don't just find that.
$300 reward. $300. And this is for you. Thank you. I would have been like, that's it, bro? No. I would have caused a scene. Hey, Skip. This isn't just you paying me off. I need a little bit more hush money, bro. More hush money.
You're getting at least $1,000 out of that, right? Like, at least.
I want $1,000. I want $5,000. No. I found it. It's $12,000. $500. If you slapped 5 Benjamins in my hand.
And just promise that that's it.
I'd walk away. 300, I might be like, it wasn't enough, Skip. And Skip, what are you doing with 12 grand at Market Basket, bro? What are you trying to buy? Are you meeting your book? What years old today? Today's the 25th, right? Yep. Mark Hamill.
Skywalker.
Michael Madsen, 66 years old. Heather be thy name. Heather Locklear, 62 years old tonight. How about Will Smith? 56. Does that make me old? If he's 56, I'm 42. Catherine Zeta-Jones, 55 years old today. Donald Glover's 41. Barbara Walters is 95 years old. Holy smokes.
I didn't realize she was still alive.
I didn't either. Christopher Reeve, no longer with us. But it was birthday, too. Should we now check if Barbara Walters is alive? Oh, I hate talking about people who aren't dead yet. I'm the Reaper. I don't know if you've heard about that story before, but... Barbara
Walters is dead.
She's dead. She would have been 95.
2 years ago.
She died in 2020. 22, excuse me. Chauncey Billups is 48. T.I. is 44 years old today. All right, let's end.
They're still alive.
Let's end the headlines. Let's end.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, the Patriots.
Into the end zone! Touchdown for the Patriots!
Lost tonight, so their season's over. No longer a playoff team. 6-1 loss tonight to the Toronto Blue Jays. Patriots gearing up for who? The San Francisco 49ers. A couple of guys from the 49ers are hurt. Brock Purdy's dealing with a back injury. Trent Williams as well. Deebo Samuel didn't practice. I don't think he's going to play. Headlines. They are brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss with a 98% customer satisfaction rating and thousands of 5-star reviews. You too will succeed. Awaken180weightloss.com. I'm Joe Murray. Next update soon.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Or who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app. The 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Around here, we call them the Joe Murray Pre-Party. It's Felger and Maz afternoons right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
I want to know what the best version of Jason Tatum look like. Is that a Jason Tatum that's going to try to strive this season as being a 50, 40, 90 guy, being efficient? Just a couple seasons, average double-figure rebounds. You're going to be better defensively. I want to see it, but I do think at the age of 26, just knocking at the door of his prime, we haven't seen the best version of Jason Tatum. And
that, I don't know if it's the franchise owner, whatever. But now and I like guys who keep it like it is. I do, especially when they're unbiased. I really like that. I do. But there's more to this perk thing in Tatum and Brown. I don't know. There's a lot going on there with the Celtics. I just wanted to play that because one day he says no one's afraid of them, and then he talks about, maybe never be an MVP because of this, and that. I'm going to tell you this much. Like right now, if I had to vote for the MVP of the NFL, it would be Josh Allen. They took away his receivers. He's 3-0. He's ascending. He's made James Cook this dynamic back. But they got rid of Steph Diggs. They drafted. They've developed. It's because of him. It's because of him. He's the MVP. But do I think that there are other people that are the best? Like, is Patrick Mahomes probably the best player in the league? Probably. So who's the best team in the league? It's the Chiefs. He's always going to get MVP consideration. He'll always be in the conversation. Which is why I think at some point Jason Tatum will win that award. 617-779-0985. We'll take a call before we go to break. We got Ryan in the car. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going, boys? How's it going?
Good, man.
So, here's my thought. I want to call in and talk about the quarterback situation. I think the Patriots fumbled the draft this year. I just don't think that with the amount of issues that they have going on right now, that taking with the third pick overall, the third best player at a position when your entire team's in disarray was the way to go. Like, why do you take a lineman like Joe Alt, start there, you burn a year of Drake May's rookie contract in order to – that's one way to go about it. The only other teams that have kind of made it to the championship or to the Super Bowl is teams that are built on a rookie contract with their quarterback. and all around it is stars. And I just don't feel like they're any.
I believe there are. I want to get into a little Patriot stuff. We'll do that coming up on the other side here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
Well, back there, 98.5 The Sport Hub. I had to look. I haven't looked at my Twitter since we've had that envelope discussion. This is something here. I get we live in a world with cameras. And I got my guys over at Prestige Security Solutions. You got to go check that out. Go call my guys over there. But if you're found picking up an envelope and someone sees it and they lost it and then they go to the footage and it's you, what happens? Did you steal?
I think you just picked up an envelope.
Like I might have some Catholic guilt, okay, with 12 years of Catholic school, so maybe I might have a little of that. But fair is fair, bro. You lost it. It's mine.
I feel like we need to get a lawyer on the line.
No. Yeah, you know what, though? Is it stealing? I don't know, but I'll read you some of the responses I got here.
Does stealing, imply intent?
Well, I mean...
Because there's not intent if you're just picking up an envelope,
bro,
right?
Who carries $12,000 with them? Drug dealers.
Somebody who shouldn't be carrying
drug dealers
$12,000.
And bookies. That's who do it, okay? Truth be told, I'm teaching my daughter pocket money whenever they find it. If you didn't see it drop on the ground, it's yours. That's a great golden rule right there. If you didn't see it drop, you adopt. Love that. Hey, Joe, not sure if you mentioned the reward, but the guy got $300. Imagine giving up $12,000 for $300. Yep, we did that. That was... Taking the envelope depends on one thing. Cameras, says Andy. If I find it on a nature trail, I keep it. In a store parking lot, I run inside and collect my reward. What if there's no reward? What are you going to get? Land O'Lakes American cheese on sale? What are you going to get?
Also, that's an inconvenience. You're
Yeah.
going home or somewhere else, I would assume, and now you're going back into the store. How long do you have to wait in the store to deal with whatever the situation entails?
I don't know. I mean, the guy Dan from Market Basket knew Skip somehow. It was it's something weird. There's a lot going on there between Dan and Skip,
Dan and Skip. Shady. Those two names, single syllables. Come on.
Well, so a lot of feedback on that one. I didn't realize it. The chat's blowing up about it, too. David writes, you pick up the envelope and you don't go to your car. You walk away for a few hours and then come back and get your car. Oh, David. So calculated, sir. Riz is in there. Hi, Riz. I wonder what Riz would do. What would Riz do? All right, well, we're here until 11 o'clock tonight, final hour of the show. What do we got going on? Well, this is what I had on the rundown tonight. The Celtics didn't need motivation this year. They already had the Olympics. Jaylen Brown was already pissed. That was motivation right there. But do you know what the motivation is now? No one fears them, according to some people. No one takes them seriously. No one thinks they can go back to back. And I feel like they've all taken the identity now of their head coach, who was asked earlier this about 2 weeks ago, I'll say. How do you feel about defending your title? He goes, well, people in the Wild, they don't defend. We attack. Well, I feel like they have that mentality now. I also think that winning back-to-back's a big deal, especially for this group, because of what's ahead. They were built to repeat. They know this may be the last run with the group. Winning one is just an achievement. But going back-to-back, it hasn't been done in 6 years. Winning two in Boston means a lot. Bruins only won one during this run. The Celtics have now won two, but it's two different versions of it. I mean, the Patriots won three and then won three again. The Red Sox won four. Whatever you want to think about them, they did it at least. But it was the Bruins and the... I mean, really, the only team that hasn't won two at this point is the Bruins, so they're on the clock. But the Celtics have extra motivation this year for a team that already had the motivation. But now people are doubting them. The path was too easy. Oh, the players they played, all their guys were hurt. Oh, the New York Knicks, they've upgraded their team this year. Oh, Philly, they're so good. This team is back. They're reloaded. Their two best players are in the prime of their career, and we didn't even see a great year from Jason Tatum. We saw a good year, but playoff, no. These guys are motivated. Their coach is certainly motivating them or finding ways to motivate them. And I have them going back to back. There's a little bit of a window here. The tax after next season will be $500 million. I'm sure a $500 million payroll, if you don't go back to back, probably doesn't even give you the idea to go back to back to back. But if you go back to back, maybe they bite the bullet on that money. So, some Celtic stuff still on the table. We mentioned the Bruins earlier, and more Patriots stuff. We'll do all that as we're here until 11 o'clock tonight. I'm Joe Mario. Let's get our final headline of the night right now.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, well, the Red Sox season's officially over. Well, not officially, but they will not be playoff bound. They lost 6-1. All right, back here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Final hour of the show. We got a Bruins game tomorrow night. I think we got an hour first, and then we're going right into the Bees. So just a quick recap on the Bruins. Had a preseason game last night against Washington, and we're still wondering who's going to be that second-line winger. Or, realistically, there's probably two spots that there's a position battle for, but the biggest one is replacing what Jake DeBrusk did. I think the Bruins had a pretty good offseason getting Lindholm and Zadorov, but I think they're very top-heavy. I think they're the heaviest team in the NHL this year. I worry about some of their speed at times because that's what DeBrusk did. But let's not forget he was a goal scorer, although maybe streaky at times. One of their fastest players, could put the puck in the net, and really could hold down that spot, whatever you thought of him. I mean, he made big money in free agency this year. So someone has to step up in that spot. When I say step up, someone needs to take the job. And in the first preseason game, you really didn't see much from Fabian Lysell or Georgi Merkulov. Now, Merkulov at least has done a little bit more. They like what they see from him in practice. He was down in Providence the last couple of years and was their leading scorer the last 2 seasons. So they like what they see from him. But the guy that they want is Fabian Lysell. That's the guy that they want. He's 21 years old, former first-round pick. And in the first preseason game, he had no shots on net, either did Merkulov. And it's kind of like, all right, well, you're like going for this spot and you got no shots on net. So what did Jim Montgomery do? Instead of talking to the guys, he basically called them out. Yeah, I'd love to see more from those guys, And when talking about him, he said, I think the habits and details, making plays in practice have been really good, but it's not translating over to the game. So I think Lysell took it to heart on Tuesday. Merkulov as well. And they were a big part of the 4-2 win over the Capitals. They were the only 2 Bruins to not record a shot on goal on Sunday, which was the first preseason game. But they were arguably the 2 best players on the ice yesterday. Number one star of the game had a beautiful goal right at the left circle. And the power play was ending. Nice little screen up front. He also drew penalties, so when I talk about that speed, I think that's something he can add to the team this year. And he was also, he one of those penalties was when he was entering the offensive zone. So I feel like that's something he could really help out with this team. And he had a bunch of turnovers on Sunday, so that at least got cleaned up. His zone entries were much cleaner. He was helping out on the back check, all that. Had a nice steal, actually, in the game last night. But I think the message was received. Montgomery, instead of talking to the guy, said it in the media. Message received. Really good. Merkulov, I like the player. I think it's about time he comes up there. He's going to see plenty of time this year. I just don't know if he's going to be locked in as that right wing. They used Patra last night, who was very good on the faceoffs. Whole team pretty much last night, very good on faceoffs. I think they want Patra to be a center. But if he can play that wing spot at times, I think it's another thing to add, another lever for them to pull. I think they want it to be Lysell. They want him to take the job. Last night, he certainly looks like the front runner for that job. Couple other things I wanted to mention. Merkulov was really good. But this kid, Riley Tufte, big boy, scored a goal. I like this dude. Another big physical guy, but I think Bruins fans will like him. He's been a nice little, I shouldn't call it a surprise. They brought him in. I mean, I've liked what I've seen. In 2 games, I like his size. I think he's got a little bit of good hands. Obviously, lit the lamp. Like what I saw from that guy. The other thing, too, is everyone's going to talk about the Jeremy Swayman contract. It's probably one of the things that's just hovering over this team. If you think about it, they had an early exit last year in the playoffs, probably went further than most people thought. But David Pastrnak wants to win a championship this year. Wants to win, they've got Lindholm, they got Zadorov. Like, they spent big money. They've invested into the team. So they're certainly in the mix, but the Swayman thing's out there. Now it seems like they're going forward with Joonas Korpisalo, who last night played half of the game, faced 7 shots, all contested, did a really good job. I'm not sold on that being the main thing for this team. Eventually, I want Swayman to be in net. I don't know when that's going to happen. So DiPietro came in and then gave up a goal right away after he was pulled. So as far as Korpisalo goes, he's looked good. Can we see a little bit more of Bussy? Can we get more out of these two goaltenders? At least I will say for last night, it looked good. It looked good. So there could be a lot of storylines when it comes to the Bruins this year. And there's some other things that we didn't even mention. Jim Montgomery is going to the media and calling guys out. I think it works, by the way. I don't think some guys didn't like it, right? I mean, him and McAvoy kind of went at it on the ice right up in person. But will Jim Montgomery get an extension? I mean, this is a guy that if they lost Game 7 last year, he was probably fired. Here they go, getting another coach after letting their coach, who they had, left and won a championship. I think Montgomery's a good coach. I think he's the right guy for this team, especially if you want to get some young guys in here. Because that's what he was always good at. He was good like that in Dallas and even in college. When are they going to give him an extension? I'm curious about that one. I would. I'd extend him. The other thing is when it comes to an extension, Brad Marchand. In the final year of his deal, I feel like they can't let the guy who's the captain of the team go into the final year of his deal without some sort of future commitment. And I'm trying to compare it to the Sidney Crosby deal that he just signed recently. Crosby got 2 years, and I believe it was 8.7. His number is 87. Maybe we find out something about the captain getting 2 years, $6.3 million. For number 63. But I think those are two things that I think could at least temper the Jeremy Swayman conversations and where they're at. They lock up the coach, lock up their captain, and let him retire here. The only thing they got to do is lock up their goaltender. They'll be in competition every year. They still have Pasternak and McAvoy and Lindholm, and these guys, they're going to be here for a while. Like, these young players are now starting to develop. Lowry, really good. Like Brazzers had a goal last night. Brazo. I call him Brazzers. They have a lot of young talent. Like, I think they're going to be consistently good for a while, and they're going to continue to have money to spend. The Swayman thing is really the shadow of the season. I wish the Bruins got it done. They have $9 million in cap space. Like, I think it would be good to get this kid in camp and have him start the season. Feel like the Bruins are going to let this thing kind of go a little bit. I think they have a number. I think Swayman has a number, and they're not close at the moment. And for a team where I think a lot of us, I at least have higher expectations this year. Sometimes it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But I would like Jeremy Swayman to be in game shape. Like legit game shape instead of, they got off to a slow start. They really need to bring Swayman back. Nobody wants that. So we'll continue to keep our eyes on that. I got a couple more Patriot stuff before we get out of here tonight. Again, if you want to jump in, we got a final segment here. 617-779-0985. I'm Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
Driving home, you missed it. You can go back and listen, but I'll share it quickly. At a market basket in Shrewsbury, two people walked outside and found an envelope with money in it. They looked at it. They walked back inside and told the manager, handed it back. And after video surveillance, they found out who owned the money. And the man's name was Skip. Skip came back. They confirmed it was his money. He gave him his money back, and as a reward, Skip paid the people who found the envelope $300. And I am now really thinking about it. There was $12,000 in that envelope. I mean, who drops $12,000? To me, like, I can't. If I walked by that and did like, I don't know. I still can't believe they returned it. And you know what? I'm still pissed at the guy. They only got $300 for doing it. Like, do you think they went home and like, I made $300 today being a good Samaritan? I'd rather the 12 G's in my pocket. Greedy as hell. I can't get over that. I can't. That one's going to take me. It wasn't me, at least. Like, if I was the one who found the money, oh, boy. Oh. I'm going to be thinking about that one for a little while here. Before we go home tonight, the Red Sox are officially eliminated from the playoffs. And to be fair, and I've been fairly consistent all year, one of the laziest narratives when it comes to the Red Sox is just blaming ownership for everything. It is. I think this one this year was on the players. Could ownership have done better? Could they have at least put some sort of vibe? I guess that's the word we hear all the time now. Could they have wanted to be competitive? Did they want to be playoff bound? No. All that stuff didn't happen. But did they put a team out there this year that could have made the playoffs? I'm going to tell you, yeah. I'm not defending ownership. Not defending them. I'm blaming the players. There were multiple games this year, whether it was errors, whether it was extra inning games, they blew it. And now, with just a few games left in the year, they had a chance. And they're going to be 4 games out. Like, I could find probably, just look at those extra inning games. I'm sure you can look into those and just say, this is why they're not a playoff team. So, yes, ownership never wanted to be in the playoffs. They didn't petition for it. There was no campaign about making the playoffs. They weren't like, get your playoff tickets this year. So all that starts from the top, and I think the team believed in it. That's all true. That's all true. Sometimes you do have to look at the players on the field, although they might not be the most talented. They were talented enough this year. They were talented enough. And this is what Matt McCarthy tweeted a little while ago. The Red Sox had some positive things come together with some of their young players, but I don't want to hear anybody say this season was a success because of that. It's easier to make the playoffs than any other time in NBA and MLB history, and the Sox failed to do so again. There's no excuses. We get on the Patriots for not doing really much since Tom Brady has left, since 2019 now? 2020 season. They missed the playoffs in 2020 with 8 teams going to the playoffs per league. In 2022, 6 teams they missed. 23, they missed. 24, they've missed. The Red Sox, as a team, cannot have basically 5 consecutive seasons of not making the playoffs. I've had enough. I hope you all have too. But it's absolutely unacceptable going forward with this team not to be playoff bound. So, Red Sox, you love PR, you worry about all those things. next year, whatever team you build, have some sort of campaign. Now, the Celtics, they had theirs, right? Run it back and all those, and some of them didn't work out. They just didn't. But at least they had them. They at least thought of NBA championship. The Red Sox aren't even thinking playoff. So that would be my advice to the group, the Fenway Sports Group over there. Actually have a campaign that you want to be a playoff team. Because they could have been this year. But it was never part of the narrative. It was never what they talked about. It wasn't the vibe. All they wanted was to develop players and wait for this big three that are coming up. All they wanted to do. Next year, I really hope they improve this team. You know who the manager is coming back. There has to be expectations for this team to make the playoffs. The Boston Red Sox should not be a team that goes 5 years in a row without making the playoffs. It's completely unacceptable. All right, that's it for us tonight, everybody. We're back here tomorrow. There you go, Stenberg. That's your song. That's your outro. We got Boston Bruins hockey, so we'll be here tomorrow for a little bit. And then I think we got the game, and then we'll be on postgame until 11 a.m. We got Thursday Night Football tomorrow as well. Great job tonight, Matt Stenberg. Intern Joe, he also made his first appearance tonight. We got to get out of here. I'm Joe Murray. Talk to you all tomorrow night at 7 o'clock